Good evening and welcome to the Monday, January 25th, 2021, 6 p.m. regular meeting of the Bell Gardens Successor Agency to the Community Development Commission. The meeting will now come to order. Pursuant to Executive Order N2920, please be advised that members of the Bell Gardens Successor Agency will participate in today's meeting telephonically. Agency members and staff are participating from remote locations. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting live online through the city's website as noted on the agenda. Conflict of interest. If any agency members should have a conflict of interest virtually, please leave the room by turning off video and muting yourself. You may still keep listening to the meeting. Now we are going to do the invocation and pledge of allegiance. And to do that, I'd like to ask the chief if he can please do the invocation, and Councilwoman Cortez to do the pledge of allegiance. Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Chief. Did you want to do the invocation? Great.
Okay, this is my first time doing an invocation, but dear God, please guide us today in our decisions that we're going to make in the city council. Please bless all the families and bless all those families that have lost a loved one with guidance to be able to cross these very difficult times. And may we be guided tonight in every single decision that we make. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great invocation. Okay, we are going to ask our agency secretary to please conduct roll call. Is the city clerk present? Okay, I will go ahead and call roll. Councilmember Chavez?
Present.
Thank you. Councilwoman Cortez?
Present.
Thank you. Councilwoman Flores?
Present.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Pulido?
Present.
Thank you. And I am also here for the record. Now, if we can please, the city attorney, will you please give the successor agency closed session report?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. With respect to the single item on the closed session agenda for tonight, the successor agency received a report from the successor agency staff. Feedback was provided by the successor agency, but no final action was taken tonight in closed session. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And now we're going to move on to the first item on the agenda, which is public participation. Agency Sec, we're gonna call the successor agency closed session meeting to order. Good evening and welcome to the Monday, January 25th, 2021, 5 p.m. successor agency closed session meeting to the community development. The meeting will now come to order. Pursuant to Executive Order N2920, please be advised that members of the Bell Gardens Successor Agency will participate in today's meeting telephonically. Agency members and staff are participating from remote locations. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting live online through the city's website as noted on the agenda. Agency Secretary, will you please call the roll of the successor agency?
Yes, Chair. Agency members Chavez,
Present.
Cortez,
Present.
Flores, Vice Chair Pulido,
Present.
and Chair Barcena.
Present. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now we're going to open public participation. We will move to the first item on the agenda. Public participation is now open. Agency Secretary, are there any speakers?
There are no speakers, Mayor.
Okay, if there is no
Chair.
objection by the agency, thank you. I will close public participation. We will now move to closed session items. Will the city attorney please announce our closed session items?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. The City Council is going to recess into closed session to discuss the one item posted on today's successor agency agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and we'll be back.
Good, sir.
Okay, we're back online. I apologize for that. We have some inclement weather here, and our internet service has been going on and off, so thank you for your patience. We're gonna resume the meeting now. We had just finished the invocation. Now we finished the roll call, and we're going to a closed session report by our city attorney.
Was that not heard, Mayor, on the successor agency?
Oh, that's right. That was heard. We were actually moving on to public comments. And Madam Clerk, do we have any public speakers today?
For the successor agency?
Yes.
We do not, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. If there's no objection by the agency members, I will close public participation. We will now move to the consent calendar. City Manager, can you please announce the consent calendar? Actually, it's items 1 through 2. Does any member of the agency wish to pull an item for separate discussion? Okay, if there are no further questions, I will now call for a motion to approve the items on the consent calendar.
I'll go ahead and motion.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Flores. Do we have a second? I'll go ahead and second that. Can we have a vote, please? Chavez,
Yes.
Cortez,
Yes.
Flores,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Pulido,
Yes.
and that's a yes for myself. So that passes. Okay, now we are going to be moving on to, give me 1 second, please.
Mayor, if there's nothing further on the successor agency agenda, it would be appropriate at this time to entertain a motion to adjourn that meeting.
Mayor Barcena and City Attorney, we have a discussion item on here, discussion item number 3, seeking approval of the ROPS.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm just trying to locate that in my script here. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Rick. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay, we have a discussion item number 3, and the city manager, can you please announce discussion item number 3?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Barcena. So this item is in annual process. I think as everybody has some knowledge of, these redevelopment agencies about 10 years ago were required to be dissolved by state order. And so there's a wind down process by which the successor agency still has to pay down and administer any bonds that were outstanding, any cost to maintain any properties that are owned, and also repayment of any city loans that were made to the successor agency. In addition to that, there's some administrative costs in performing those acts. And so on an annual basis, we seek approval from the successor agency to allow us to pay off these recognized obligations. And they're recognized, meaning that they're appropriate obligations that are allowed to be paid as part of this wind down process. So we're seeking authority for these recognized obligations and also for the administrative budget to continue winding down these operations as well. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. And this will be, if approved by the successor agency, this will go to the county oversight board for review and approval as well. Thank you.
Do any of my colleagues have any questions or discussion on this item? Does anyone have a motion to approve? I will go ahead and motion to approve. Can I have a second?
I'll second that motion. Councilwoman Cortez?
Thank you, Councilwoman Cortez. We're gonna go ahead and vote. Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Cortez,
Yes.
Councilmember Flores,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Pulido,
Yes.
and that's a yes for myself. So motion passes. So now we're moving on to public participation on non-agenda items. Can we have the agency secretary please let us know if there are any speakers?
We have no speakers for the item, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. If there's no objection by the agency members, I will now close public participation. Does any agency member wish to make a comment? Seeing none, we're gonna go ahead and adjourn this meeting. And now we're gonna be calling to order the regular city council meeting. Good evening and welcome to the Monday, January 25th, 2021, 6 p.m. regular meeting of the Bell Gardens City Council. The meeting will now come to an order. Pursuant to Executive Order N2920, please be advised that members of the Bell Gardens City Council will participate in today's meeting telephonically. Council members and staff are participating from remote locations. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting live online through the city website as noted on the agenda. If any council members should have a conflict of interest virtually, please leave the room by turning off video and muting yourself. You may still keep listening to the meeting. City Clerk, would you please call the roll of the City Council?
Yes, Mayor. Council members Chavez,
Present.
Cortez,
Present.
Flores,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Pulido,
Present.
and Mayor Barcena.
Present. Thank you, Madam Clerk. And can we please ask the attorney to provide the closed session report?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. The records reflect that the City Council recessed from the closed session to discuss the two items posted on today's closed session agenda. With respect to both items, the City Council received a report from the City Attorney's Office. Direction was given, but no final action was taken tonight in closed session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Olivares. We're moving on to a presentation. Michelle Chambers, Special Assistant Field Deputy, will present the item. Do we have the presentation ready to go?
Michelle, I see your name is logged in. Are you?
Yes,
oh,
I
there you
am
go.
here. My apologies. Thank you so much for having us this evening. My name is Michelle Chambers, Special Assistant to our LA County Assessor, Jeffrey Frame. Again, we would like to thank you all for hosting us this evening. I would also like to, I was trying to see that the assessor, was he able to get on?
I'm on.
Sir?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, sir, I can. Thank you.
So I think I could probably take it over from here, Michelle, but Mr. Mayor and honorable members of the council, I want to thank you for the invitation to speak with you this evening. It was very kind of Mr. Romo, your community development director, to reach out to us to provide a little bit of a update on some things about going on in the assessor's office with Proposition 19 and in the real estate market. I don't have the opportunity to speak to city councils all that often, but I always welcome the opportunity when invited, and hopefully I'll can share some information with you and your constituents that might be useful. Let me first emphasize, though, what the assessor does and what I do not do. The one thing I do not do is collect taxes. People always call me the tax assessor. They like to joke with me that they just mailed me their property tax bill. I don't have anything to do with taxes. The guy who collects taxes is called the tax collector. My job is to do property valuation. And I'm one of three elected officials in the county. You're all familiar with the other two because they're much more well-known than I am. That's the sheriff and the district attorney. But I administer a department of nearly 1,400 employees. We have 6 locations throughout the county. About half of my employees are real estate appraisers, and we're responsible for establishing the taxable value of over 2.5 million real property parcels and business assessments, which last year were valued at $1.77 trillion. So the assessor in many ways is the fiscal engine of local government. We determine the value of taxable property, which in turn is used to calculate property taxes, which provides revenue for vital public services for the county, for cities like Bell Gardens, and for public schools. As you can see on your screen, hopefully our presentation is coming through, but the assessor has a symbiotic relationship with a couple of other departments that each own a piece of the property tax system, primarily the auditor controller as well as the tax collector. And the way it works is my office will receive a deed from the registrar of quarter, or cities like your own will send us copies of your building permits. We then complete the assessment of value. The auditor controller then tells you how much you owe, and the treasurer tax collector mails the bill and collects the payments. And last year, property tax revenues that begin with my office's valuation provided over $17 billion for vital public services, which, as you can imagine, are needed now more than ever as revenue from sales tax, from tourism, and even parking fines have declined significantly due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So what types of property is taxable? Well, the most obvious is what we call real property, that's land and buildings. However, you may not know that we're also responsible for assessing the value of business personal property, which includes furniture, equipment, and machinery. By the way, it also includes airplanes, such as commercial and general aviation aircraft, mobile homes, boats, and believe it or not, even racehorses. My primary responsibility is the production of what we call the annual assessment roll, which is the inventory of all taxable property in the county. The assessment roll serves as an important planning document for local government. Your city manager may monitor the growth of the assessment roll in anticipation of property tax revenues in your budget, but it also serves as an economic indicator, providing some insight as to the health of the overall real estate market. Last year, for 2020, the assessment roll grew at 5.97%. That's the rate growth of property values countywide. It also means that the market rate of LA County property is even higher. This represented the 10th consecutive year of property value growth in the county of Los Angeles. The things that impact that growth include the transfers of real estate, that's the buying and selling, as well as new construction. I want to emphasize, though, that that optimistic growth number does not reflect the impacts from COVID-19 on the real estate market. We're anticipating significant impacts on the economy and in real estate, particularly on commercial properties such as hotels, restaurants, and retail in particular. We're also expecting a dramatic increase in the number of assessment appeals that we receive, as well as applications for decline in value review. A few statistics about the City of Bell Gardens. According to the 2020 annual report, which is available on my website, Bell Gardens experienced a 7.1% growth in its assessed value. It's a little bit stronger than the countywide average. The total assessed value for all property in Bell Gardens was over $2 billion, spread over 4,100 parcels. That includes 1,300 single-family homes, 2,100 residential income properties, and 651 commercial and industrial parcels. And all this information, as well as breakdowns of all the cities in your area throughout the county, are available on my website. Another issue that's important for businesses and sometimes overlooked, I referenced a bit earlier, it's called the business personal property. Separate from your real property, you have to also pay, if you're a business, you have to pay property taxes on your furniture, equipment, and machinery if you have a total of $5,000 in value or more. And I did want to suggest, particularly for your city manager, if the City of Bell Gardens has a business license program, there's a way that we could work together that might help generate some additional revenue from business personal property that might be overlooked in your city. One of the ways that we identify what business property exists is we do a manual door-to-door canvass throughout the county every year, but that's very inefficient. But if we could collaborate by exchanging records, we might be able to get a better canvass done, and that might be helpful to the city's bottom line. Another statistic that we're keeping an eye on is the county's median sales price index. The median sales prices have counterintuitively have increased over the course of the pandemic. Median sales price for a single-family residence, which does not include condos in LA County, is $763,000 as of January, compared to $638,000 back in March. In Bell Gardens, the average sales price of a single-family home was $603,000 last month, up 28% over the previous year. The average sale per square foot in Bell Gardens for a single-family home is $404, up considerably over last year. The reason it's kind of counterintuitive is that home sales are doing well is, one, sales are down dramatically, so there's not a lot of inventory, and then the really low interest rates which are available are pushing up some of those numbers. Next, I wanted to cover the point that you're probably most interested in this evening, and that's Proposition 19, which passed on the ballot last November. It was sponsored primarily by the California Association of Realtors. And candidly, despite many of the relative merits of Prop 19, the proposition was rushed onto the ballot without being vetted very carefully. And we've identified numerous drafting errors and deficiencies that are going to need to be fixed before I and the other 57 other assessors statewide can administer it properly. Prop 19 does two major things. The first one is it creates portability of your property tax base. So if you bought your home in 1990, and you're now 55 or older, you're disabled, or the victim of a natural disaster, you can transfer your property tax base from 1990 with you when you move and buy a new home. Secondly, it puts new limitations on inheritance of property tax benefits, which is a little bit more controversial. The first component allows eligible homeowners, and again, that's those who are 55 or older, disabled, or the victims of a natural disaster like a fire, to move anywhere in the state, to transfer their base year with them, and to purchase a home of any value, more expensive, less expensive. And you can move that reassessment up to 3 times. Under current law, you can only move it once, and to a home of equal or lesser value. So this is hopefully going to be a boon to particularly seniors. Realtors like it because they think people will sell their homes more and generate more in commissions. It's scheduled to go into effect on April 1st. The other half of Prop 19 will change the rules that apply to transfers between parents and their children, and in some cases, grandparents and grandchildren. Current law allows a family member to transfer a primary home of any value and its assessed value for tax purposes without resulting in a reassessment, even if the children don't occupy the property and use it as a rental property. Current law also allows parents to give $1 million more in property to the kids without reassessment, such as a rental home or commercial property. Prop 19 will make significant changes to the current law, and it will reduce the amount of tax benefits that you can give to your children. The main conditions of Prop 19 is the property being transferred must be the primary residence of the parent. No other property can be transferred. Well, let me take it back. You can transfer it, just not with the property tax benefits. Secondly, the child must make that home their primary residence within 1 year. And there is a cap on how much property tax benefit you can get in inheritance. If the property is under $1 million, there's probably no issue in transferring the full value. Once the property gets over $1 million, your children will begin to get a higher tax rate than you have right now. A lot of people are very concerned about this for inheritance purposes. There's a lot of generational wealth that's tied up in their property, and people are concerned that their kids may not be able to inherit all the value that they enjoy under current law. But I also want to caution people, if they want in making decisions, to keep in mind that there's a number of other financial considerations when transferring property, including capital gains taxes, gift taxes, as well as estate taxes. And it's important that you seek guidance of professionals in financial planning when making such decisions, especially if you're trying to meet some of the deadlines of Prop 19. I have very informative webinar on Prop 19 last Friday. It's on my website. If anybody's interested, you can get more information about Prop 19 by going to assessor.lacounty.gov. The last thing I want to talk about was a tax savings program that I think will be of particular interest to the homeowners in Bell Gardens. We manage a program called the Homeowners Exemption, which helps property owners save money on their annual tax bill. If you own your home and you occupy it as your principal place of residence as of January 1st, you are eligible for the Homeowners Exemption. And this allows me to reduce your assessed value by $7,000, which saves you about $70 a year on taxes. I know it's not a lot of money, but about 1/3 of homeowners in LA County don't file for the Homeowners Exemption, leaving $30 million in unredeemed savings every year. In the city of Bell Gardens, 32% of qualified homeowners do not apply for the Homeowners Exemption. And the reason they don't apply is because they simply don't know about it. But the likelihood is that cities in your area also have a similar percentage of non-participants. Applications that we receive between now and February 15th are eligible for 100% of the benefit. Applications that come in after February 15th will be prorated for the rest of the year. We really would like to work with the city to promote this program. If maybe you can work with us with your website or if you have newsletters. I know that the city of La Puente actually went as far as to mail an application to every homeowner in the city. So I know that was a lot of information. There's actually a whole lot more I would love the opportunity to share, but I'm going to end it there. And I want to just thank you, Mayor and council members. Particularly, I want to thank Mr. Romo for inviting us to be a part of your meeting this evening. And I'm happy to take any questions if that's appropriate. I did put my our information on your screen. You can sign up for our newsletter if you're interested in keeping in touch with the assessor's office. That's my email address and phone number. And just in case you think I'm the tax collector, which I'm not, we put the tax collector's information on there if you have a question about your bill.
Thank you so much for that presentation. And at this point, I'd like to open it up for any questions that any of our council members may have. Okay. Well, that was an excellent presentation. And remember the website where all these resources and information is located at assessor.lacounty.gov. So once again, thank you, Mr. Jeff.
Before he logs off, Mayor, if I may,
Please.
Assessor Frank, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I know that this isn't what is usually done, so I really appreciate you being here, taking the time to be here with our City of Bell Gardens and with our colleagues. So again, thank you for your years of service. You've done a phenomenal job, and we're so proud to have you. And hopefully you can come around, and whenever you want to come visit Bell Gardens, hopefully our casino opens up soon, and we'd love to take you here for a tour.
I have family in Bell Gardens. I visit there often, and it's an honor to be with you, council member.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Okay, we're going to move on to public participation on agenda items only. Public participation is now open. City Clerk, are there any speakers?
Yes, Mayor, we have 5 speakers that have requested to be called and 1 email to be read.
Okay.
So I'll proceed. The first speaker is Amy Sanchez.
I'm right. Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice message.
I believe she's in the actual virtual space, so
Oh,
she'll
she
be
is.
able to
Okay.
participate directly.
Okay. Is
Uh,
that an
go ahead.
indication for me to start?
Good evening. This is Jane Halstead, City Clerk for the City of Bell Gardens. You will now go ahead and state your name. You'll have the opportunity to speak to the mayor and city council members, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. So go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, members and mayor of the city council. My name is Amy Sanchez, and I would like to speak on the agenda items number 13 and 14. As you all may be aware, I am currently Miss Bell Gardens. I was crowned on November 17, 2019, and was given the honor to be given the title as your queen. When I seen this on the agenda for the council meeting as a topic that was going to be discussed, I had to speak on this. When my court and I were given our titles, we were excited about the year that was about to come. Unexpectedly, COVID-19 hit, and we all found ourselves quarantined, not allowed outside anywhere but our homes, and events were being canceled. It had never crossed my mind that Bell Gardens would technically be cut short into the year of 2021. The Miss Bell Gardens program has given me so many opportunities, receiving a $1,000 scholarship, getting a laptop I currently use for school, and speaking about topics such as women empowerment and disabilities, but most importantly, connecting with the community I grew up in. Youth programs should be more focused on guiding us when we are feeling off track. They give youth an opportunity to not lose themselves in the corruptions they may be experiencing. Our youth should be aware of not letting the violence around fool them into silence, convincing us that we are not worthy of space and time. We will never lose our spirits. Each of our breaths have minds and lives of our own. Many will not know the true impact of our presence, but it's a blessing. We have strong, driven, and ambitious women who have participated in the pageant who are currently in the city council, and they have came back to serve their community. In society in so many different walks of life, we have always been told that what we are and what we can be. For women, sometimes it's just you can be beautiful, but you can't be smart. That's just an example. And through the pageant, we are showing that yes, you can have a degree or pursuing one, and you can feel confident on stage, and you can be a great speaker, and you can have all these things. You can be multifaceted, and you can have so much dimension to you as one person. And I think it's amazing and so inspiring for people to look up to. Getting little girls and young ladies from the high school asking, how can I sign up for the next pageant? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. The next speaker is Carla Acosta, and I believe she's on the line.
Yes, I'm here.
Carla, you may now speak to the mayor and city council. Please state your comments, and you have 3 minutes to speak. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Carla Acosta, and I was crowned Miss Bell Gardens Second Princess in 2019. When I heard about the program possibly not being renewed, it was heartbreaking because this program has really opened up so many doors and opportunities for me, not just for me, but almost every single person that participated in the program as well. I was introduced to a whole new world, which is a world of disabilities because of the pageant that I was in, which is the Miss Bell Gardens program. I am now involved with the STAR program in Veterans Park. Those kids are so sweet. They're so smart, and it's just insane to think that they're excluded from so much just because they're seen as different when they're not. But like my point is, I was introduced to that program because of the Miss Bell Gardens program, and it's really nice hanging out with them. And just before the program, I wasn't really involved within the city, but now I am. Now I know about like food drives and city events and just community gatherings, and then just showing up to events with our crown and sashes is amazing because you see little girls coming up to you asking for pictures, and I'm like, what? You guys want to take pictures with me? Just because they see that they can once be put into that position too, you know, have a crown and a sash and attend city events, and just to know that it probably won't be here in the next upcoming years. It's just sad because they're like, oh, can we be like you one day? And we're like, yes, you could. It's introduced me to self-confidence and public speaking, and that's something I thought I would never have and never acquire. And I have people that recognize me in this, when I'm, you know, at the store with my mom or at my doctor's appointments. They're like, oh, tú eres la reina, you're the queen. I'm like, no, I'm a princess. But they just start communicating with me like if they've known me for so long. But they haven't. They've just seen me out in city events, seeing how I'm representing my city, which is amazing. I'm now like a city representative, and it's insane. I would have never thought I would have been in this position before. And my friends have been wanting to participate too when they saw that, I was in it, and just to see that they won't be able to experience what I experienced is sad because I experienced so much. I'm so sorry for the background noise, my brothers. So many opportunities have opened up, and I couldn't be more thankful. And yes, that's it.
Thank you very much for your comments. The next speaker I have on my list is Estefany Hurtado. So I'll go ahead and place the call. Hi, is this Estefany?
Yes.
This is Jane Halstead, City Clerk for the City of Bell Gardens. I have you on a speaker phone. You have the opportunity to speak to the
Soy
member of
Jane
City
Halstead,
Council and state your
secretaria
comments.
municipal.
You're welcome.
Decir sus comentarios. Ah, se me fue otra vez.
Hold on, can we pause her because we can't hear her and I hear like a translator or something that's overpowering the speaker.
If anyone can hear me, I am trying to get back in. My sound keeps cutting out. My city computer crashed. And so I'm trying to do this on my own and I'm having trouble with it. So I apologize. I'm trying.
Have IT help you right now. We apologize. We're just working through some technical difficulties with our interpreter.
Okay, we're working on getting the speaker back on the line. Give us just 1 minute. Again, for those of you that are tuned into the meeting, we are just working out some technical issues here with our translator and a couple of the callers have the public comments. We will resume the meeting as soon as we can.
Rick, this is Michael Kelly. Can you hear me? Rick, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Mike.
So Rick, our interpreter's having issues with her city computer and also with her personal computer that's crashing. So I think our interpretation services are going to be not available. Are there any legal issues with us continuing forward time?
No, you can continue forward.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the next comment, the next person that's in line. So just a second, we can't hear it on the meeting. So right now we have Stephanie Hurtado. She's gonna continue to provide her comment. I can't hear it here, no. Maybe, there you go, I can hear you now.
Go ahead, Stephanie.
Okay. The Metro Gardens program gives us personal advantages, for example, getting us out of our comfort zone and offering professional networking opportunities at a great and safe road, leading to job and business possibilities. And which is why I believe that the Metro Gardens program should continue. And yes, this concludes my public comment. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Okay, our next speaker is Jimena Vasquez. Hi, is this Jimena Vasquez?
Yes, this is me.
Jimena, this is Jane Halstead from the City of Bell Gardens. I'm calling so you can give your comments to the mayor and city council. You'll have 3 minutes to speak, starting now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Go ahead.
Okay. Hello, my name is Jimena. I don't know if you all can hear me right now. I said there's a ring
Okay. Hold on just a moment. Just a moment. Yeah. Jimena?
Okay, yeah, I'm right here.
Okay, are you speaking on your phone?
Yes, I am.
Your cell phone or your landline?
My cell phone.
Okay, because there was kind of like an echo.
No, yes, because I'm watching the meeting on Facebook to make sure everyone can hear me.
Okay, can you
But I
mute
can
it?
check- Yeah,
Can-
I will.
Okay, and then go ahead and get started again.
Hello, my name is Samara. As most of you know, I am part of the Miss Bell Gardens Corps. I was found a princess, and I really believe in this amazing program. It has opened up so many opportunities, not only for me, but for the other girls in the sport, even for the girls that was just part of the pageant. And we all met super amazing people. We became, more active in the community. I know that we participate in the STAR program, which is a super amazing program, which I know many people don't know about, and I really think people should be more aware of that program and other youth programs. But I mean, for the most part, I really think we should continue this program. Like I know because of this, I was able to get a scholarship to help me with my tuition, and I've been using that laptop they gave me for my school currently. And also, I know like I have a lot of people who told me like, hey, like when is this everyone again? Like I really wish I would have known about this. Like I really would want to see this program. And I really expect to do this, continue it, which I really hope they do, since I know how.
Oh. Did I? Okay. Okay, just stay here for a minute. The next speaker is Diane Flores.
Hello.
Hi, is this Diane Flores?
Yes.
This is Jane Halstead calling with the City of Bell Gardens. You have an opportunity right now to speak to the mayor and city council regarding I think you wanted to speak on items 10 and 13. So you have 3 minutes to speak, so go ahead and start now.
Okay. For item 10, okay. So all I ask is to follow a fair process. Everyone deserves to be respected and valued. Our city needs and deserves a strategic.
Can we interrupt her very quickly? Just let her know that she needs to
Hold
speak.
on just a moment.
Please let her know that she needs to speak into the phone very loudly and clearly because we can barely hear it, and I'm getting complaints from the council members that it's very muffled. So
Okay.
let's just let them know that they need to speak directly into the phone, and let's put the receiver into the speaker. We'll give it another shot. Thank you.
Okay, Diane?
Yes.
Okay, so we can't hear you very clearly. Can you speak into the phone a little bit louder so the council members can hear you?
Okay. Is this loud enough?
Is that loud enough? Yes, I think that's loud enough.
Okay. So I'll just start from the beginning.
Okay.
So if everyone could please just follow a fair process, everyone here deserves to be respected and valued. Our city needs and deserves strategic leadership for it to be successful. For our council members, Chavez, Cortez, Flores, Mayor Pro Tem Pulido, and Mayor Bastena, are you all confident that you're demonstrating leadership and teamwork for our city? And if so, how is your vision looking? Please don't forget that our community is watching, so please show us that you're all mature, effective, and reliable. Do I continue on with the second one?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So for the second one, the Miss Bell Gardens pageant made its reappearance last year, and it had such a successful turnout. Why want to replace such a prosperous program? It's evident it had a positive outcome. On another note, beauty pageants are traditional, while the alternative student ambassador program is so cliche. Many high schools have more ideal and rewarding. Pageants are unique. They prove it's possible to have beauty and brains. Now, about the whole gender equality, council members, please, let's be creative and be the change for the youth. Don't be afraid to modify the pageant itself rather than replacing it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, the next one is email to be read. Would you like me to read the email, Mayor?
Please, thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Barcena, Mayor Pro Tem Polito, and esteemed council. It is my fervent hope that you, your loved ones, and the beautiful community of Bell Gardens are safe and healthy during these devastating times. I would respectfully submit the opportunity tonight to thank you for allowing me to have been the pageant director for the 2019 Miss Bell Gardens pageant. The pageant afforded me the possibility of continuing my career as a coach, choreographer, and artistic director, as well as the honor of meeting your council and youth ambassadors of your beautiful city. This program is unique and allows for young ladies to become civically engaged and learn what it takes to lead and contribute to the well-being of your community and surrounding communities in the region. Since the pageant, I have stayed in touch with the court and have seen how active they are in Bell Gardens. They love their city and they truly appreciate their elected leaders. I see their participation at meetings, city events, and food giveaways. All of you, as their representatives, have made an impression on them. It's apparent. The Bell Gardens City Council has two pageant success stories and role models. They are Councilwoman Cortez and former Miss Bell Gardens Princess, who will be a future attorney, and Councilwoman Flores, past participant and leader of the pageant's resurgence. I also know that each of the ladies have had a significant amount of personal growth, which has led to scholastic achievement, goal setting, and higher self-esteem. All of this, believe it or not, is as a direct result of the opportunity the pageant provided. I have said this before and I will say this again. This pageant is one of the best local pageants I have seen and have been fortunate enough to be part of. There was a significant amount of support and scholarship from local businesses, as well as a comprehensive, intense program for the participants that covered public speaking, dance, runaway experience, motivational encouragement, and last but not least, a volunteer program that had the ladies participate in park events, cleanups, attendance to council meetings, and more. I would also like to take this moment to thank all the staff that was part of the event and each of you for the voice of confidence when you supported it. I also truly appreciate seeing the harmony on your board when the majority of the city council attended the event. There was state representation and elected leaders from neighboring cities as well. This program has the foundation and potential to be recognized at the state level, i.e. Miss California. I wholeheartedly support these types of programs. And that concludes public comments.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And now we'll move on to the city manager report. City manager, will you please provide your report?
Thank you, Mayor Barcena. First off, I'd just like to thank the council, staff, and the public for bearing with us. We're obviously having some technical difficulties that are exacerbated by the wind conditions that are out there tonight. Our translator is doing her best to get on and do translations. She's come on and a couple of times. So our sincere apologies for that. We know how important it is for this community to have translation services. So we're going to continue doing what we can do for the rest of the meeting to try to attempt to make that happen. Also, just want to note that, as many of you already know, the state and county health orders were modified today significantly. So the city and staff will be putting more information out there, going through all of the revised orders and getting information out here in the next 24 to 48 hours. Also, lastly, just like to thank staff for the most recent food distribution. There were about 200 meal packages of about 60, 70 pounds a piece that were distributed last week to Bell Gardens residents only. So thanks again to staff, particularly Roseanne, for really making that happen. And with that, I thank you, Mayor Barcena.
Thank you, City Manager. Now we're moving on to the consent calendar. We have 9 items. Would anybody like to, does any member of the City Council wish to pull an item for separate discussion?
Mayor Barcena, if I may, can I pull item number 3?
Does anyone have a motion to approve items 1 through 2 and 4 to 9?
I'll go ahead and
I'll
move.
motion. I'll second.
Okay,
Okay.
so just to clarify, the motion was to approve the consent calendar with the exception of item
With
number.
the exception of item number 3.
Okay.
So motion by Councilwoman Cortez with a second by Flores. We're gonna go to a vote. Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Yes. Councilmember Cortez?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Flores?
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Pulido?
Yes.
Thank you, and that's a yes for myself. So we are now going to review item number 3. And can I please have the city go over item number 3?
Thank you, Mayor Barcena. I think I would ask Councilmember Chavez if there's any particular question, and maybe the city clerk can help clarify anything that needs clarification.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mayor Barcena. No, I was going over it in the final page for the minutes. I did notice that there's a misspelling of, I think, our Assemblywoman's name. They went ahead and they mentioned Christina CH instead of her name is just CR. There is no H in her name, so I think that that was pretty much the only correction that I wanted to make on the minutes end. But other than that, the minutes look pretty clear. That was it.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Chavez. We are going to take note of that and correct the mistake for our minutes. And now we are going to move. Do we need to approve it? Okay, so I will motion to approve the correction of the minutes. Focusing
second.
on. Okay, and then a second by Mr. Chavez. We're going to take it to a vote.
So,
Chavez?
Mayor,
Yes,
just
sir.
for clarification, the
Yes.
motion is to approve the minutes with the proposed change by Councilmember Chavez, correct?
Yes, please. That
Okay,
is the
great,
motion.
thank you. Great.
So it was seconded by Councilmember Chavez. Can I have a vote? Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Cortez?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Flores?
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Pulido?
Yes.
Thank you, and that's a yes for myself, so motion carries. Okay. We are going now to discussion item number 10. City Manager, would you please discussion item number 10?
Thanks again, Mayor Barcena. This is an annual process by which the City Council reviews and appoints members from the council to external committees. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do we have anyone that would like to make any changes to the external committees?
Mayor
Yes,
Barcena, if I
Mayor.
may.
Please go ahead, Mr. Chavez. I believe that was you that
Yes.
asked for, yes, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mayor Barcena. I just wanted to make a clarifying point as we're going into this item. I just want to mention that, I really appreciate the opportunity to be on this council. I also want to mention that, I want to make sure that I'm being, use my skills and the time and energy and serve the community of Bell Gardens on the variety of different boards that our community allows us to serve on. I believe it's 14 of them. And I just kind of wanted to mention that I want to be a team player. I want to be able to serve our community and be the representative of our city at the regional level. And with that said, I'd really appreciate the support for if any openings. I've been looking at it, and one of them that really interested me for the fact that we deal with air quality transportation at a regional level would be the Gateway Cities Council of Governments. And with that said, I'd really appreciate the opportunity. And I'd just like to make that statement. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. We will definitely, and we have been considering you and looking for ways in which we can better apply your skills and what you bring to the city. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to say?
Mayor, may I suggest that you take it committee by committee with respect to the ones that are vacant? And that way we can just go in line.
Yes, I will go ahead and propose the following changes. We're gonna take it committee by committee. Some of them, there will be no change, but I'll go over them anyway. So we have the number 1, California Cities for Self-Reliance Joint Powers Authority. The delegate is Alejandra Cortez and myself, Marco Barcena. Number 2 is California Contract Cities Association, and that will be me as a delegate and Alejandra as the alternate, and that's an actual change that we are proposing now. Number 3 is California Joint Powers Insurance Authority.
Mayor, may I?
Yes,
Sorry,
please.
I apologize. May I nominate you for the California JPIA as the delegate, and I'll nominate myself as the alternate since you were the delegate last time. I'll promote you to the actual delegate.
Yes, I accept that. Thank you. So the change to be me as a delegate, Marco Barcena, and Alejandra Cortez as the alternate.
May I also nominate myself for the Eco-Transit delegate since I was sitting on that board previously, and will retain you if you accept as an alternate.
That is fine. So number 4 will be for the Eco Rapid Transit will be Alejandra Cortez as a delegate and Marco Barcena as the alternate.
May I also nominate Mayor Pro Tem Maria Pulido as a Gateway Cities Council of Governments delegate.
Yes, please. So the change to number 5, Gateway Cities Council of Governments. The delegate will be Maria Pulido and the alternate will be Alejandra Cortez.
I'd like to also make a nomination for Gateway Cities Council. I'd like to nominate Jorge as the main delegate and myself as the alternate.
Okay, we're gonna keep that in mind. We're gonna move through the next. What is there left? About 10 of them that we have to still do. So I'll keep that in mind. Thank you, Councilwoman Flores.
Sorry, Mayor.
Yes, yes, please.
May I nominate Mayor Pro Tem Pulido for Independent Cities Association as a delegate if you accept? I know you right now, you're a delegate, but I know you incurred Contract Cities as mayor automatic appointment. So would you mind if I nominate Mayor Pro Tem for the delegate for ICA, which is number 8?
ICA number 8. We're gonna go ahead and make that change for number 8, Independent Cities it will be Maria Pulido instead of myself, and Alejandra Cortez will remain the alternate. I have another change for number 9. I would like to nominate Alejandra Cortez for California City's Los Angeles County Division, and to fill the vacancy by nominating myself as the alternate. Now we are going to number 10, the Los Angeles County City Selection Committee. And I believe I'm an automatic appointment for that. And I think the logical fashion here would be to have the Mayor Pro Tem, Maria Pulido, be the alternate. So I would like to propose that change as well. Number 11 is the Sanitation Districts of Los Angeles County. I am also an automatic appointment there, and I would like to fill the vacancy for the alternate for Jorge Chavez. I feel like that's a really big commission that could really introduce our new council member to the County of Los Angeles and of the participants in this area. So again, the change for that will be a vacancy to be filled by Councilmember Jorge Chavez. Number 12, the Southeast Area Animal Control Authority will have no changes. Number 13, Southeast Community Development Corporation. I would like to propose that Jorge Chavez is the delegate for that particular committee, and I will serve as the alternate. So the only change there will be to propose Jorge to fill the vacancy. And number 14, Southern California Association of Governments, otherwise referred to as SCAG. I am the current delegate for that, but I would like to add Jorge as the alternate, Jorge Chavez. And those are the changes. I believe there are 2 motions here. There's a motion to approve the changes that myself and Councilwoman Cortez have put forth, but also there's a second motion to propose the changes as signed by Councilwoman Lisette Flores.
I'd like to motion to approve all of your recommendations and nominations with the exclusion of the Gateway Cities Council of Governments.
Okay, do I have a second for that motion?
I'll go ahead and second that motion. And Mayor, may I recommend that you just take item number 5 separately? That will be the rest of the committees. And then at that point, you can take the first nomination or the first motion first, and then the second motion in its order.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, the councilwoman's motion was to approve the nominations as presented by me and Councilwoman Alejandra Cortez. So we are going to go ahead and submit a vote as Alejandra Cortez has seconded that motion. So we are going to ask our council member to vote.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilwoman Cortez.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilwoman Flores.
Yes.
Thank you. And Mayor Pro Tem Pulido.
Yes.
Thank you. And that's a yes for myself. So motion carries. Are there any other motions?
There's still a second motion for item number 5.
Yeah, Mayor, we still need to consider the appointment for the Gateway Council of Government.
And that motion was made independently. Has it been made yet, or is to make the motion?
It was made by Councilmember Flores. We need a second.
We're voting for Councilwoman Lisette Flores' motion at this point. Is there a second for that?
I'll go ahead and second that.
Okay,
Mayor, point of order.
please.
My motion came in first, so I would petition for my motion to be carried out first before the second motion. So my motion was to nominate Mayor Pro Tem for the Gateway Cities Council of Governments.
I will take that as a separate motion then. Thank you for clarifying that. And the motion would be to approve Maria, to assign Maria to the Gateway Cities Council of Governments and fill the vacancy. And I would like to go ahead and second that and now to take it to a vote. And the first person to vote is going to be our council member, Jorge Chavez.
That'll be a no for me.
No from Jorge Chavez. And now we are going to get a vote from Councilwoman Cortez.
Yes.
It's a yes. Councilwoman Flores?
No.
No. Mayor Pro Tem Pulido?
Yes.
Yes, and that's a yes for myself, so motion carries. And Rick, can you please help me out here? Does that mean that we still have another motion to vote, or does that cancel the motion?
No, Mayor, members of the City Council. No, at this point, we have the nominees for the Gateway Council of Government. So there's no need to take up
Thank you.
Councilmember Flores' motion.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
One second, on my way back into the agenda here. Appointment external committees. Okay. We're going now to item number 11. City Manager, will you please announce discussion item number 11?
Thanks again, Mayor Barcena. This local commission's appointment list that's come before the council the last few meetings, we still have some vacancies. So this is an opportunity for council to review the appointments and to make any new appointments or remove commissioners, et cetera. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any changes to our current commissions?
Yes, Mayor Mia.
Please go ahead.
Mayor, I would like to appoint Tiffany Quintero to my Senior Citizens Commission.
Senior Citizens. Okay, Senior Citizens Commission. Does anybody have a second for that, or are there any other nominations?
Yes, I'd like to make a recommendation. I'd like to appoint Tara Solorzano to the Parks and Recreational Commission.
Okay. Any other nomination? Okay, do I have any motions to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Okay,
Just
I'll
for
go ahead.
clarification,
Yes.
Councilmember Cortez, is that to approve both of the proposed nominees?
Yes, City
Okay.
Attorney to approve both of the nominees.
Okay, great, thank you.
Now, I'm looking at just for clarification, the opening for the Recreation Commission, is that under Councilwoman Flores's commissions? Because I know that we had an opening for Mr. Chavez as well.
Mayor Barcena, if I may.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I was the previous information that I've actually spoken with Ms. Solorzano for the Recreation Commission appointment, and was able to have an interview, and she was going to be my appointment for the commission. I believe I'd like to have some sort of clarification on Mrs. Councilwoman Flores's end.
I didn't think you were gonna take her offer after all, so I went ahead and gave her the position. But if you're still interested, then I will recant the appointment and I'll go ahead and hand it over to you.
Mayor Barcena?
It's up to you if you would like to make a motion to, if you would like to nominate her and make a motion to approve, that can be done. We have a motion to approve both of them and a second. Are there motions?
No, I'd be recanting my
Okay.
my appointment for her, and it'll be Jorge.
So, Mayor Mia,
Yes, please.
So I'll go ahead and amend my motion at this point while Councilmember Chavez and Councilwoman Flores decide. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve just Tiffany Quintero to my Senior Citizen Commission. And then if you can ask for a second.
I'll second that.
Second by Jorge Chavez. And we are now going to have a vote on that.
Shouldn't we take
Councilman-
out the appointment for Jorge too as well?
Jorge,
Well, if I may, Mayor,
please.
we have one motion right now pending, which is to approve Tiffany Quintero to the Senior Citizen Commission. I believe Councilmember Flores rescinded her nominee. So there is no nominee before the City Council with respect to the Parks and Recreation Commission.
Okay, thank you. So we are going to go ahead and vote for this. And if there are any other motions after that, we'll go ahead and take them. But for now, we're going to take a vote. Member Chavez,
Yes.
Councilmember Cortez,
Yes.
Councilmember Flores,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Pulido.
Yes.
Yes for myself. Are there any other motions?
I'd like to nominate Tiara Nicole Solorzano for my Recreation Commissioner.
Okay, and I'll go ahead and second that. Councilmember
Yes.
Councilmember Cortez,
Yes.
Councilmember Flores,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Pulido.
Yes.
That's a yes for myself. Thank you. And
Um,
I believe those, yes.
Mayor
Mr.
Barcena, if I just want to make a quick comment on
Go ahead.
regards to my appointment. Yeah, thank you. So yes, I went ahead and I appointed Tiara Solorzano to our Recreation Department. I was able to speak with her, I believe Wednesday last week. We were able to talk, and having her experience from serving in recreation in the past, I thought it'd be really important to also have her on our commission. So with that said, I'm glad that she was able to get passed forward, and she's serving now the residents of the city and on the Recreation, Culture and Youth Commission as well. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, so now we are going to be moving on to agenda item number 12. City Manager, will you please announce discussion item number 12?
Thanks again, Mayor Barcena. As everybody may or may not know, back in 2019, there was a new state law called the Safe Sidewalk Vending Act. At that time, most municipalities took a look at their existing ordinance or lack thereof and created new ordinances. This city of Bell Gardens appointed an ad hoc committee. Reasons the ordinance that was drafted out of that committee due to changes in council brought forth to council was never adopted. So staff is recommending that the council appoint 2 members to the street vending ad hoc committee so that an ordinance may be the draft ordinance may be modified and brought back before the council for adoption. Be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Do any of my colleagues have any questions, especially maybe those that were working closely on these issues in the past? Any nominations?
Mayor Barcena, I just like.
Please go ahead, Councilmember Chavez.
Councilwoman Cortez can yeah. Oh, okay. So yeah, I just want to mention in regards to the sidewalk vending. So it's a very important issue. It's something that I think we're gonna need to address eventually. I'm glad that our city's gonna have this ad hoc committee rejoin and reassess the situation. As we can see, it seems like a couple more vendors have been out there and advertising their services to our residents. It's very important that we are able to be effective in our capacity as council members.
Councilwoman Cortez, did you have a comment?
Yes, I think there's a very important conversation that has been in the works for some time now. And respectfully, if my colleagues don't have any objection, I would like to nominate myself to be part of this ad hoc, or if there's any interest. Mayor Pro Tem, I'm not sure if you were interested in this item. Mayor Barcena?
I'm interested in this item. However, I want to move out of the way and allow maybe one of our new council members that has shown a lot of passion for this particular matter to participate. So I would like to nominate Jorge Chavez to be part of this committee. I believe that he's shown some skills in that area that I feel would be great for him to be able to put to work for our community's benefit. So I'll go ahead and nominate Jorge Chavez.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to accept that nomination.
Okay, any other nominations or comments? Okay, do I have any motions?
I'd like
Go
to
ahead and, oh, go ahead.
I'd like to go ahead and approve the motion to add Jorge Chavez and Alejandra Cortez to the Sidewalk Vendor Ad Hoc Committee.
Second that motion to approve the nominations for this ad hoc committee consisting of Councilmember Cortez and Councilmember Chavez. And we're gonna go ahead and take a vote. Chavez?
Yes.
Thank you. Cortez?
Yes.
Thank you. Flores?
Yes.
Thank you. Pulido?
Yes.
Thank you. And that's a yes for myself. So motion carries.
Mayor Barsana?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I want to give a quick comment in regards to the sidewalk vending because I know a lot of our community's been active in trying to get the sidewalk vending and has a lot to say about it. So I plan moving forward now being on this ad hoc committee to have the community, have the residents of Bell Gardens be really involved, right? I'll try to do my part in live streaming and sharing and advertising as much as I can to have the community input. I've had businesses and residents reach out to me on both sides of the spectrum in regards to sidewalk vending, and it's something that I really want the community to be active in. It's not necessarily about us just going to go buy food and supporting these local vendors, but I think it's also the other side of the coin that we should also acknowledge, right? So I look forward to serving on this ad hoc committee with Councilwoman Cortez. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jorge Chavez. Okay, City Manager, will you please announce discussion item?
Mayor Barrs, just a clarification. I believe this item is number 13. If that's okay with you all.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out. It is item number. Can you please go ahead and announce the discussion item? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Barsana. This item is a consideration of reimagining the Miss Bell Gardens pageant. First, I just want to take the opportunity to thank everybody that was involved in bringing the Miss Bell Gardens pageant back after a several-year hiatus in 2019. I also want to specifically thank all the young women that participated in the event, and especially those that were selected. We heard from a few of them earlier today, and you can see that was a rewarding program for them. What staff would like to do and is requesting direction is to come back in 3 months with a reimagining of the Miss Bell, transform it into a gender inclusive ambassadorship program that still strives to teach and promote youth community service, volunteerism, and also develop leadership skills. And so it's not to take away from the previous forum that was Miss Bell Gardens, but to just expand upon it and also make it more inclusive for more of the youth residents. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, City Manager, for the introduction of this particular item. Do I have any comments or questions from our colleagues?
Mayor?
Please.
So in bringing this project forward, it was and I want to thank all of our Ms. Bell Gardens pageant girls for calling in, for expressing their strong support for the pageant. I know you're worried or preoccupied that we're not supportive of the pageant, as that has been the narrative in the past, but that is far from it. What we're trying to do here, at least what I'm trying to do here with this project, is to provide a bigger platform for our city and for our youth. I believe that this year we're going to have very limited resources as we have been shut down for most of this past fiscal year with respect to the pandemic. So in re-envisioning this this ambassador program is really to foster some of the things that you mentioned that, you know, the Miss Bell Gardens pageant did for you, including civic engagement, including working with students, youth of all abilities, as Mike mentioned, also something that's more gender inclusive so that we can incorporate a broader scale of our youth in this program. I also want to highlight, you know, I want to incorporate different skills. We have so many assets within our city council. For example, Mayor Barcena is very involved with Toastmasters, which works on your public speaking. And that's, I believe, something that would be a great asset to this program so that we can offer you, Miss Bell Gardens pageant girls, as well as the rest of our youth, some attainable skills that they can use in the future so that we can, and it's with the idea of creating these leaders of tomorrow. I believe the pageant coordinator mentioned that I did participate in the Miss Bell Gardens pageant, and I did. That is completely 100% true. I learned some good techniques and skills, but primarily I learned a lot of everything that I've implemented for city council has been out, you know, in civic engagement, communicating with different peoples, engaging in political campaigns. That's what developed my passion for what I want to do in the future. I did learn great things from the Miss Bell Gardens pageant, you know, pageant walks, things like that. But I do want to create a program where we're creating the leaders of tomorrow. And of course, it'll be inclusive of you girls too. You can also participate in this program. I don't see why not. But, you know, we can also open it up to youth of all abilities if we so wish, so that we can also be inclusive of that community. But I do want this to be a representation of the strength of the, you know, brains of our city, because our youth is talented and they offer a great promise for tomorrow. So that's just where this is coming from. I do appreciate all of you calling in for the Miss Bell Gardens pageant. Believe me 100% that we are supportive of you girls in every single way, but this maybe perhaps can lead us into more of a mentorship program. Mayor Barcena and myself have been trying to establish a scholarship for some time, even before the pandemic hit. So that might lead into that as well. So there will still be perks as much as we can imagine, as much as we can attain for everybody. Which might include scholarships. I don't know. We have to see what we're working with, but just, and for council, this is just where I want to move away from something that is so a little bit antiquated, which is a Miss Bell Gardens pageant or a pageant in a sense, and instead empower especially our young girls to leadership. And I think we could do that through this ambassador program.
Okay. Thank you. Mayor, if I may.
Please go ahead.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank all of the Miss Bell Gardens princesses and the Miss Bell Gardens queen who called today and who have been active throughout this entire time. It's very difficult to continue to serve to your community when there's a pandemic going and you guys weren't able to go to school or participate in any of the normal events that otherwise should have taken place. So what I want to talk about is when we talked about reimagining the pageant, I really did think that it meant reimagining the pageant. I like to say that the ladies that participated are all ambassadors of the city. And I do believe that we need to be more gender inclusive. And I feel that we should add another program versus deteriorating the one that's already existing. And we should add to more youth and youth development programs. So the Miss Bell Gardens is a great program and it should remain, but we should also add another ambassador program that's gender neutral, that's all disabilities welcome. And they're both, by the way, when we recruited for the Miss Bell Gardens program, it was also all abilities welcome. That was always put in every flyer. I don't have one right now with me, but that's always been something that is a part of the program. The Miss Bell Gardens pageant was surrounded around bringing awareness to different disabilities. And a lot of the money did come from the city, but we also did occur a lot of sponsorships. All of the participants received a scholarship. The top winners received the $1,000 check and a laptop. Again, because of COVID, they weren't able to fulfill all of their duties. However, I do want to say that this program has really given them emotional support, social support, cognitive development. They were able to support each other throughout this environment. And I do think that we should continue to keep the Miss Bell Gardens program, but also bring another ambassador program. I think that when we want to talk about being gender inclusive, we should include something else versus tearing down what we already have. And I feel like that's where this is going based on, the rhetoric here. It does feel like that's where it's going. And I think the girls are here to try and save something that they really believe in. It's not just antiquated, it's also something that it's antiquated because it's traditional, and tradition takes a long time, right? It goes on for a long time, and it's working well, and it was gone for a long time and everybody was happy. And to have to remove that and dismantle that to create another ambassador program seems detrimental to the community, because they waited for this and it's finally back. So I think that we should create another ambassador program so that we can have more programs, not deter one to bring another one. I think we can do both. I think that this is a very young and progressive council, and we're able to attain that. So we should push for that.
Thank you, Councilwoman Flores. Do we have any other? Okay, my input. I feel that there's a little bit of a misunderstanding in regards to what the purpose of this particular item here is. In my opinion, and the way that I envision this effort is to do a upgrade or a small rethink or reimagining, as it literally says on the item, of a very good program. I feel that program had a lot of positives. We obviously have our residents coming on here on this public forum and sincerely stating that this was a life-changing experience. No way that I would allow anything to take away from that, but on the contrary, I do believe that there's a lot of room for growth. There's a lot of room for improvements. And I do think it's necessary to maintain some of the traditional aspects of this program. I think that tradition and definitely something that I advocate for and that is beneficial to the community. So I think by having us work closely on this, especially with the support of our current Parks and Recreation Director, which we didn't have during that time, I feel like that could really propel this program to a different level. And I'm all about that. And I believe that we have a young and energetic council that would support a progressive outlook on this particular event. And I hope that we can figure out a way to make it happen. And nobody's trying to dismantle anything. This should be an exciting initiative to want to improve and innovate in this area of Miss Bell Gardens, because I've been Miss Bell Gardens experience throughout my entire career. I helped out since I was a recreation leader once, since I was a lifeguard. So I have seen how it progressed over the years, and I can't wait to take where we are now and do something special around that, especially now that we're basically different people now after COVID-19. We have different things move us, we have different goals. We are just a little bit more awake, I feel. And I think it is a great time to reimagine it. So I hope you guys didn't fall asleep while I was talking. And that is the end of my comment. Does anyone have any other comments?
I have a comment, Mayor Barcena. I don't know if City Manager Mike might be able to clarify this in terms of, I guess, the fiscal impact of having two sort of youth programs to serve the residents of Bell Gardens, right? Specifically the youth. I mean, I think after the comments that were made by a lot of the Miss Bell Garden princesses and queen, I think were very impactful. I think it's important to know that we're a city that tries to do a lot for our youth, and we really want to promote them to become civically engaged. And I'm all on board for this idea of an ambassador program, but I'm trying to look at it in terms of the numbers and see if if potentially we could probably do some sort of 2 youth programs, right? And what I would even add is, for this idea of Miss Bell Gardens, why don't we have a Mr. Bell Gardens as well, right? I think that'll be for the because I've seen other cities that have Mr. the city compared to here, which we only have women. But I'm all for inclusivity. I think it'd be great. I'm all for the Ambassador Youth Program. Communication skills are key. Public speaking, interview skills. That's the type of things that we need to serve our population and our youth. So I'm all on board. I just kind of wanted to know if Mike can clarify in terms of maybe a ballpark range of funding towards youth programs like this.
Sure, Councilmember Chavez. Generally speaking, I haven't looked at the finances from the Miss Bell Gardens pageant. As Councilmember Flores mentioned, there was a lot of effort put into bringing money in to cover some of the scholarships and trips to Disneyland and things like that. Generally speaking, there's a significant amount of staff time involved in any such program. Then on top of it, if you're paying for facilities, if you don't get them for free and you're paying for prizes and things like that. I think generally when we were coming up with a budget for the Miss Bell Gardens pageant and not considering sort of the free donations in that, if you will, I think we were looking in the $15,000 to $25,000 range, give or take. I know that's kind of a broad stroke, but in that range. So if we were to propose sort of in a non-COVID environment, 2 youth programs that are sort of this competition type basis, I think we'd be looking in the probably $20,000 to $40,000 range, maybe a little more if you added in staff time, and that with some of that being defrayed potentially by donations and things of that sort.
Mike, if I can add to the finances of the Miss Bell Gardens pageant, a lot of the all of the girls went out to local businesses and asked for a sponsorship, which is what paid for their Disneyland trips. The only thing the city did purchase for each girl was a pair of Mickey Mouse ears. For some, we didn't because they brought their own, but we made sure that at least everybody got that, and we paid for their meals. But other than that, it was all recruited. Dell Records let us use their facility for free, and we're generous enough to give us donations for food from time to time. And in other events, El Pescador gave us food, El Chilito gave us food, Rocio's Kitchen gave us food. Many different vendors within the city chipped in, and I feel like if we are to go ahead with Mr. Jorge's motion to start a Mr. Bell Gardens, we should consider that there would be a lot of donations, and maybe we should ask our vendors to chip in for youth employment programs such as the Mr. Bell Gardens program.
Mayor Barcena, if I may.
Go ahead, please.
I want to clarify, I have not made a motion, but just kind of brainstorming, and I just want to hear everyone's input on this. I'd also like to hear Mayor Pro Tem Pulido's insight on this. I don't know if exactly Miss Bell Gardens was active when in her past experience, but maybe if she could kind of share a little bit about what she thinks.
I think that the Youth Ambassador Program, to me, it appears to be a hybrid of the Miss Bell Gardens pageant and Mr. Bell Gardens pageant, and where we can include both genders, but add other life skills to the program and tools. So I think that it's a great idea. In the past, the program was not very active, starting off in council, and it wasn't as promoted. It did, from what I see, last year the program did have a great turnout, but I think that now we can reimagine and revamp a different program that would include a bigger demographic. So in my opinion, the Youth Ambassador Program would be a better approach for our community, given the pandemic and what our community needs. So,
Mayor, may I?
Please go ahead.
Yes, as Mayor Pro Tem mentioned, the purpose of even renaming it, it's not so much to take away from the essence of the Miss Bell Gardens, but for it to be a gender inclusive program where we don't have males and females, because remember, there might be some youth that don't self-identify with either or. And that is where we're reimagining this. And as I work to educate myself on this, the LGBTQ community as well, I'm trying to use the appropriate terms, so pardon me if I don't use the appropriate ones. But that's the vision for this, right? And I know that our girls, yes, they did enjoy this, and it's not to completely cancel that. It's to re-envision it, to add added elements, to instead of having, we may not have girls walking around with the pageant, because then we can't have other people walking around, with a crown. But maybe we could do an alternative to that, such as a shirt that bears, the city logo or something, where we can really be truly inclusive of our youth. That's where we're going with this. And at the moment, as I mentioned, yes, in a typical year, perhaps we can do both programs. Remember, we are at a deficit. We're not going to be able to bounce back in the next couple of months, but we still want to be able to offer our community a program. We still want to be able to offer them something at the beginning of the next fiscal year. We may not be able to do everything because, our casino has been closed for a couple of months, which is our main revenue source. Our sales tax was just approved, and we're not going to see, those monies until a couple months from now. And if they do, we already committed them to basic city functions. So that's where, and business is the same thing. They've also been impacted. Vendors have been impacted. So we need to be cautious about how much we're going to stretch our vendors as well coming in, because a lot of them have also seen business decline. And businesses that were able to donate before may not be able to do so this year because restaurants have been closed. Other businesses have been closed. So let's just remember that we are in the middle of a pandemic. We are trying to envision activities, programs for our community, but also be budget conscientious. And that's where we're coming with this ambassador program, to be able to offer something for our youth. Let's test it, let's try out, let's offer an input in terms of the elements, the components that we want to see, but really, truly this time around, have it be a council project, a full council project, to where we're providing our input and our wonderful Parks and Recs department is executing. But that's where we're going with this, and we're bringing it forward to the table, so that's not a project of one, it's not a project of two, as the Miss Bell Gardens pageant was, but truly have it be a project of the 5 of us.
Mayor Barcena, if I may.
Please go.
I appreciate everyone sharing their comments. I think, speaking in terms of the finances and the budget and the constraints that we're kind of going through at the moment, that's why I wanted to clarify. That's why I began with asking our city manager, Mike, in regards to how much it costs to sort of fund a program like this. Again, and also I also appreciate Mayor Pro Tem's input, having her previous experience working and her seeing the perspective that Miss Bell Gardens, how it was successful this last year. With that said, I'd like to make a motion to move forward with reimagining the Miss Bell Gardens pageant into a youth ambassador program for the following year. And then hopefully, eventually down the road, in the next couple of years, maybe bringing it back to the table.
Mayor, if I may.
Yeah.
Before we continue with the motions, it is apparent where this motion is going. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that I'm well aware of the financial responsibilities that we need to inherit as a city. I'm well aware of the budget, and because of that, when I say our vendors, I mean the vendors that the city pays. We haven't stopped paying our, our essential workers or our essential contractors. For instance, we still have a trash sweeping company, we have a trash company. Those are the type of vendors that I feel would be more than happy and be generous to help us out. So when I say businesses, I don't mean our local mom and shops that are hurting as of right now. I mean businesses and contractual services that are within the city, in which we pay hundreds of thousands of dollars from taxpayer money that could be reinvested back into the community. So that's where I'm talking about monies and where and how we can pay for these programs like the Miss Bell Gardens program and an ambassador program. But I will rest my case, and thank you for giving me that space.
Thank you all for your comments. Jorge, I would like to share my motion with you as well and see if maybe you're okay with just jumping on board with my motion here. It just includes one more detail. So I'd like to make a motion to move forward with the staff recommendation, but also ensuring that the previous Miss Bell Gardens court is fully added to the program so that they can participate and share with the newcomers. And even if they decide to run this particular program again, that they can sort of build on it and share it with the participants. So I would like to add that motion just to have that be a focus, an important focus of where we take the program.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd like to
Okay.
second that motion.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. We're going to go ahead and do a vote now. Councilmember Chavez.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Cortez.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Flores.
I do support this program, but not at the cost of losing something, so I'm gonna have to vote no.
Guido. Thank you. Yes, for myself. So the motion carries.
Mayor Barzano?
Yes, sir.
I know I've been making a lot of comments.
No worries. That's what we're here for.
There, I like that. I like that positivity. That's why we are here. So I want to make sure that we delegate staff once it comes to the new reimagining of Miss Bell Gardens. I mean, of the Youth Ambassador Program. Let's make sure we include professional development, communication skills, resumes, I mean, anything sort of that will really prepare them to be out there in the real world. Interview skills. I mean, you name it. Let's make sure we incorporate that and let that be a core of the program. So when they do go and to university or the professional world, they take these vital skills to be successful, right? I think that should be a huge factor in the program itself.
Okay, I missed part of that.
What was the last part you heard?
That you think we should involve professional instruction in communication and professionalism and all that.
Yes, professional
I agree.
development.
I wholeheartedly agree, and I'm sure that
interview
with the help of
skills.
our director of Recreation and Community Services,
Yes,
we'll be able to make Ms. Bell Gardens even better.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now moving on to item number 14. City Manager, would you please announce discussion item number 14?
Thanks again, Mayor Barcena. This is somewhat of an extension of the last conversation, but it's more direct. This was at the request of Councilmember Flores, and it's seeking direction from the council. We got the vote right? Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. There was a question about the vote. I think it's resolved satisfactorily. Thank you, Mayor Barcena.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Barcena, so again, this item's more direct and to the point. There was a request to seek council direction as to whether or not the council would like to extend the reign and responsibilities of the sitting Miss Bell Gardens pageant and the court to continue representing the city. Again, they were crowned back in November of 2019. And we have not conducted the Miss Bell Gardens pageant subsequent to that one, primarily due to COVID and also budget constraints. So with no action within the council, their reign would have ended a couple of months ago. This would extend their reign into the future, and we're seeking direction on that from the council.
I'd like to go ahead and speak on this item. I brought this forward because, as the girls discussed, their time in reign was interrupted by COVID-19, and they've been unable to attain the duties that a normal princess court and queen would be able to attain. So I am suggesting that we extend them and provide them with new crowns for this year as a gift for them. I know that a lot of them have been participating in our food giveaways, and it's all been on a volunteer basis. Many times they've not been invited. They do that out of their own, will, and they've done a lot for the city. And I know that they've become proud. And I think that maybe that's something that we can do for them. It says there will be the last court that would be officially Miss Bell Gardens. So I'd like to invite all of my colleagues to support me in lengthening their reign for the remainder of this year and gifting them another crown.
Any other comments or questions from the council? Okay. Okay. Do I have any motions in regards to this item?
I'd like to go ahead and motion to extend the Miss Bell Gardens responsibilities into the 2021 year.
Okay, do I have any seconds for that?
if it helps, I'm willing to pay for all of the girls from Miss Bell Gardens crowns. And I hope that you guys can support them since they did call in and some of them are still on the line.
All right, I would like to make a comment here. I feel that the only reason why I'm a little bit abstaining from this particular item is just that I don't want to send out the message that Ms. Bell Gardens is ending. I don't think that it is ending. I think that what we're trying to do is we're trying to carry on with Ms. Bell Gardens, and as we mentioned in the previous item, it's a reimagining of Ms. Bell Gardens. So if I support something like this, I feel like I'm sending out the wrong message, saying that, oh, Ms. Bell Gardens is gonna go on independently than what we're envisioning as a council. So I want to maintain that sense of unity. And honestly, I just feel like our energy and our time, including the time and energy of our contestants, that the Ms. Bell Gardens participants that have been here for the last year, I think their energy will be better off working with us in this effort to reimagine and improve Ms. Bell Gardens. So that's the only reason why I'm not choosing to be part of this particular effort. But I truly appreciate the fact that you want to take it upon yourself to pay for it. I think that's a great gesture. And if anybody would like to go ahead and second that, please do so now. Okay, since there's no second, the motion dies. Any comments before we move on? All right.
Yes, I'd just like to thank all the girls that called in and thank them for their service. I know that you know that I appreciate every single one of you. I've had the opportunity to watch every single one of you grow. You guys are phenomenal. And it's not the end. There's going to be many other opportunities. I know that some time ago, I requested a youth employment program. I already established one here in the city because of COVID. It didn't happen, but know that there will be more opportunities. And sometimes, this is what happens. And don't worry, it's going to be okay. But thank you so much for your time in office. For your time in court, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you to all the participants, and thank you, Councilwoman Flores, for the comment and the gesture. Moving on to item number 15. City Manager, would you please announce this item?
Thank you, Mayor Barcena. This item is one of the next two that are related to the city's water system. This one's a receive and file report that will come from our Public Works Director and our water system consultant. What it's really to do is just to inform the council of the reporting of the testing and reporting requirements for certain contaminants that are known to exist in the water systems in Southern California, particularly in Southeast LA, North Orange County area. So with that, I will turn it over to our Director of Public Works, Chao.
Okay.
Just to fill the silence in the meantime,
Hi.
Chao's got a presentation.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. City Manager. Is there an echo? Okay. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Tonight, we'll be presenting you an educational piece on PFAS, PFOA. And we have our expert tonight, who is James Tasamura, who is our water consultant, and he'll be briefing you on the impacts of PFAS, PFOA, which is prevalent throughout the region, and it's in our groundwater. So I'm going to share the presentation right now. Okay, James, you have the screen.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is James Murrah, and I'm with Infrastructure Engineers. And tonight here, we're going to discuss PFAS, PFAS, or as some people like to call them, forever chemicals. Next slide. So what exactly is PFAS? And why are we going to talk about it tonight? Well, PFAS stands for per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. And this includes a huge family of manufactured chemicals that include approximately 4,700 different chemicals, including the board talked about PFOA or PFOA and PFOS, PFAS chemicals. And these were invented by 3M in the 1940s and widely used until the early 2000s. These chemicals were designed to be used in a wide variety of environments and are extremely stable even in very harsh conditions. The carbon fluorine bond that was used to create these chemicals are one of the strongest in organic chemistry, and so this gives the chemicals an extremely long half-life. What this means is that they are very persistent in the environment and difficult to destroy. And because of their unique chemistry, these compounds can move easily in the environment and have been detected in drinking water, wastewater, and in landfills worldwide. So due to the nature of these chemicals, PFAS has been detected pretty much everywhere in the environment, but we will focus primarily on drinking water tonight. The highest concentrations of PFAS contamination have occurred where Class B firefighting foams were used mainly at military bases and airports, where that foam has contaminated the surrounding soil, surface water, and groundwater. Other hotspots include industrial and manufacturing sites where PFAS were used in various manufacturing applications. And although they're no longer being manufactured in the US, PFAS-containing products are still allowed to be imported. These items can include many water and stain-resistant coatings and products, polishes, waxes, cleaning agents, paints, cookware, and food packaging. And so when these items are placed in landfills, they can break down and release PFAS into the surrounding soils and then leach into the groundwater. The EPA is currently studying several of these PFAS compounds, and the health concerns are being discovered about many of these new chemicals even that are being used to replace PFAS, and those chemicals are generally referred to as Gen X chemicals. And so this kind of leads us into the UCMR, which is the Unregulated Contaminant Monitoring Rule. And this was established by the EPA in 1996. The UCMR is used every 5 years to collect data on 30 contaminants that are suspected to be in the drinking water but do not have any regulations under the Safe Drinking Water Act. UCMR 3 was where they looked for 6 different PFAS compounds. And we are now entering into the 5th Unregulated Contaminant Monitoring Rule, UCMR 5. And this is expected to include several additional PFAS compounds. Currently, they're proposing to look at 29 different PFAS compounds. And this is going to be finalized in 2023. So here's the challenge. As we learn more about these chemicals and we're able to improve our technology and methods in detecting them, we're going to find more of these chemicals in water. And this new round of sampling and testing will likely result in more detections of PFAS and will trigger more research and more regulation. So it's not too early for agencies to begin proactive measures to prepare for this monitoring, treatment, and also public communication. Okay. No, we're good here. Yeah. So due to the unique chemistry of this chemical, PFAS chemicals can be absorbed into the human body through food and drinking water. As PFAS have become prevalent in the environment, people can be exposed to a number of different sources of PFAS over time. And due to the strong chemical bonds, PFAS lasts a long time within the human body. And this also accumulates to the point where it actually has adverse health effects. Some studies have indicated that PFAS can contribute to the reproductive and developmental issues, liver and kidney damage, and immunological effects in laboratory animals. Some human studies have also found that there are possible links to increased cholesterol levels, lower infant birth weights, immune system effects, and PFOA-related cancers and PFOS-related thyroid problems. Okay, next. So due to these studies, the US EPA has developed preliminary guidance on PFAS, and these include health advisories that provide information on contaminants that possibly cause human health effects and are known or anticipated to occur in drinking water. These health advisories are non-enforceable, non-regulatory, and designed to provide technical information and guidance to agencies on how to look at these chemicals, basically. And these health advisories also are set in order to provide a level of protection from adverse health effects resulting to exposure to these chemicals throughout an individual's lifetime. And so in order to provide a margin of protection for sensitive populations, these levels are set pretty low. And the US EPA established a health advisory of 70 parts per trillion for combined levels of PFOA and PFOS. And this really represents a guideline rather than an enforceable value. Last week, the EPA released a notice that they will be pursuing regulation of these two chemicals, and there would be a final determination of the levels in about 2 years. So there is some time before a federal limit is established. And until that time, the US doesn't have a federal enforceable standard, which leaves the states to set their own regulation. And the rapidly evolving scientific information and development of analytical tools have made it difficult for states to develop their own guidelines, much less for water agencies and for cities to make decisions regarding their water systems. So let's take a look at what we're facing here in California. Currently, not all drinking water systems are required to monitor for PFAS. However, Assembly Bill 756 was passed in 2020 to establish new reporting and notification requirements until the US EPA develops their guidelines. Bell Gardens well number 1 was among 237 wells located here in LA County that were selected for PFAS monitoring based on the UCMR3 or proximity to wells that have detected or known PFAS contamination. And so these water systems were required to test for 18 specific PFAS compounds and before December 31st, 2020. And then the Assembly Bill also established notification levels and response levels. So notification levels are non-regulatory health-based advisory levels that are established by the state, and they're precautionary measures for contaminants that have not undergone or completed the regulatory standard setting process. And so a response level is a little bit higher, and this is considered, sorry, in this case it's lower, at a lower amount. And this represents a level of chemical concentration at which the water systems are required to take an action. And so just so we're clear, there are two levels that we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a federal US EPA level, but then also there is the state. And in California, many times the state level is more stringent than the federal level. Okay. So in compliance with the State Water Board's general orders, Liberty Water conducted the required sampling of well number 1 for PFAS compounds on October 23rd. And on November 12th, the city was notified that the samples detected PFOA at 13 parts per million and PFOS at 35 parts per million, or parts per trillion, sorry. And these are very small amounts that we're talking about here. The city opted to perform confirmation samples with a different lab to verify those results, as the detection levels are so small and samples can be easily contaminated. The first set of confirmation samples came back on November 20th, and they actually came back as non-detect, so at 0. The second set, taken on December 7th, detected levels similar to the first round, 14 parts per trillion for PFOA and PFOS at 36 parts per trillion. So both of these levels are above the notification levels established by the water boards at 5.1 parts per trillion and 6.5 parts per trillion, respectively. So exceedance of these levels will require that the water system notify the local governing body, and that the detection must be included in the annual consumer confidence report. So in order to calculate whether these monitoring sample levels exceed the response level, the water boards require that the water systems take quarterly samples and calculate a quarter running annual average of all samples taken for the past 4 quarters, and all of the samples must be included in this calculation. And so when we look at this, we can see for Bell Gardens well number 1, the PFOA concentration was at 2.25 and PFOS was at 5.92. So if at any time, any one sample exceeds the response level, the water system will be required to either, one, remove the water source from the service, two, utilize blending or treatment in order to reduce the contamination levels, or three, provide immediate public notification of the response level exceedance to the public. Okay, next slide. So on January 5th, 2021, the city received a notice from Golden State Water that a well that serves portions of the city of Bell Gardens has detected PFAS in exceedance of the state's notification levels. This well is located approximately 2,150 feet south of the city's well. You can see that there on the screen. And the sampling results were very similar to the results that the city received. In response to the sampling results, Golden State Water notified cities that were served by the well in the Bell Gardens water system. And the information about this detection will be placed on Golden State Water's annual Consumer Confidence Report. So although not required, Golden State Water Company is also taking the additional steps of notifying all of their affected customers within that water system and posting notice on their website about the PFAS detections. They have also elected to stop using water from Clara Well number 2, and that they will be using additional water from other groundwater sources that they have in that system, and also purchasing imported water through the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California. Okay. So although Bell Gardens' current sampling results do not exceed the response level, the current levels of PFAS are close to a maximum level of 40 parts per trillion, and exceedance would require a quick response, as the city would be required to take action within 30 days of receiving a confirmed result. The options would include removal of service, just as Golden State Water and many other agencies have done, but this would require the city to purchase expensive imported water to replace that. Many other agencies are exploring treatment options. They have granulated active carbon, GAC, or ion exchange systems that could be used. And it would be recommended that the city perform a water quality study to take into account all the different water quality parameters that could affect the effectiveness of the treatment. Unfortunately, PFAS is such a large family of chemicals that not any one treatment will work effectively on all of them. And so it needs to be looked at very carefully. The third option is also for the city to keep the well in service, but then notify all of the residents that are affected. And you would have to notify all of your customers via email, mail, public notices, city website, social media within 30 days. Okay. So this concludes our presentation. I want to thank you for your time. And if there are any questions, we'll be happy to answer them for you.
Yes, I have a question here in regards to, is there anything that residents can do? I mean, you did mention that because of the wide range of these chemicals, that it's very hard for one particular treatment to take care of it. But is there anything that our residents can do at home, whether it's filtering the water in a certain way, or what are our options for the residents?
Chow, you're muted.
Can you repeat the question? We're having technical difficulty.
Yes, the question is, considering that these chemicals are hard to catch, I know that you mentioned that one particular process doesn't always eliminate all the PFAS or PFOS. Is there anything that residents can do, whether it's a filtration system or anything like that in their own homes, to reduce the amounts of these chemicals making it into their bodies or their food? Or
There are home treatment systems that can remove PFAS. And in fact, in other parts of the country, that's been their choice to treat it at each individual home, because in other parts of the country, there are a lot of different wells that feed small neighborhoods. A reverse osmosis filter is the type that they recommend. They're not too expensive, but they do need to maintain them on a regular basis in order to maintain their effectiveness. Reverse osmosis filters tend to get clogs over time, and that actually would make it worse because now you have concentrated contaminants within the filter that are, instead of removing it from the water, it's adding it back in.
Thank you. Does anyone have any other questions in regards to this item? No?
Mayor Barsana?
Please go ahead.
I think you know, I've this topic of PFAS and PFOS and I forgot the PFAS and the other one. Very important. You know, I've actually done some work on trying to educate the community. So I know our Assemblywoman Cristina Garcia was really pushing forward with AB, I think it's 7. Her assembly bill that AB 756, which mandated requirements to monitor this sort of substance. There's a great film that I think the rest of our colleagues should also look into called "The Devil We Know." I believe that's what it's called, and it kind of goes to show. It's a documentary. We showed it here in Bell Gardens High School. I remember I attended, and it was like the largest turnout we've ever had for that documentary. And it really is. It's important to know what exactly is in our drinking water, and you know, and all other items that we use on a day-to-day basis. It seems shampoo, photography, firefighting foams. I mean, non-stick cookware. I mean, you know, the pots and the pans that we use. So this is very important. I'm not an expert by no means of all these terms that are used, but I mean, I think this is something that we need to pay attention, because there's a slide that really caught my eye, which was slide number 4, which said PFAS potential health concerns, increased cholesterol levels among exposed population, infant birth weight, effects on immune system, PFOA related cancer, PFAS related thyroid hormone. I mean, these are some things that they might not be shown on the surface, but it's something that we definitely need to get educated on. And I think that we also need other local nonprofits involved on this issue, fighting on the forefront, because they're a lot more expertise on this issue and really have a way to go on addressing them. So again, I think that we should all maybe watch the documentary, The Devil We Know, and I don't know if maybe the presenter wants to touch on that, if they know anything about the film themselves or about that showing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm unfamiliar with that. I will definitely have to check that out. I know that there have been some other films that were done on this type of contamination, but that one I'm not familiar with.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Jorge Chavez, for your remarks. Thank you, James Sumara, for your presentation. And let's keep our eyes open when we go to our committees, when we go out there, to see if there's legislature that can actually be applied here in our city to help us better regulate these levels of chemicals, because it is definitely not safe and something we need to be constantly aware of. Okay, moving on to item number 16. City Manager, will please announce discussion item number 16.
Thanks again, Mayor Barsana. This next item is related also to the city's water system. Just by way of background, the city owns a water system that services approximately 30% of the residents of Bell Gardens. The remaining 70% are serviced by Golden State Water. You heard our consultant talk about some of the contaminants that are being monitored on the city's water system and also Golden State Water. because you saw that the sources of the water are very close to each other. I think one of the stark things that faces the city from a financial perspective is the fact that the water rates have not been updated water system in about 30 years. And so what you currently see now is the 70% of the residents that are under the Golden State water system, they pay about $90 a month for their water, whereas the city customers pay $40 a month. And that disparity is basically paid for by everybody in the city through a subsidy from the general fund. So those are really kind of big important pieces, but with that, what we're really looking for, we're going to give you a presentation, a quick presentation of the water rate study that's been done so far, and then seek authority to come back with a report with an exact rate adjustment for the ultimate purpose of proceeding with a Prop 218 process to make adjustments so that we have a water system that is reasonably funded, where those that receive the benefit of water system pay their fair share of the cost, and ultimately to reduce or eliminate the subsidy that the city's general fund pays towards the 30% that receive this subsidized water. So with that, I'll turn it over to our Public Works Director. Thank you.
Hello. Okay, we're echoing. Hang on.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Yes?
Tom, we can hear you.
All right, great. All right, thank you, Mr. City Manager, Mr. Mayor, members of council. On July 2019, staff was authorized to prepare a water rate study. And tonight we're ready to present the findings from that study. I have the PowerPoint in front of you. Sure you can see it. Okay, but I wanted to give you just an overall idea about where our water comes from, so you have a better understanding about the impacts of our water system. A majority of the water from California, Southern Cal, comes from the State Water Project, the LA Aqueduct, and the Colorado River. So that's the regional supply for Southern California. And the rest is 40% from the ground. For Bell Gardens, 95% of our water is from the ground. We are almost off the grid, and we import very little water from these outside sources, which we call Central Basin or Met Water. And so we're very proud of that because it's a significant savings when you pump water from the ground versus purchasing it from the outside agencies. So Bell Gardens, approximately 30% of the city is served by the city's water well. 70% is served by Golden State Water. And here's what the map looks like. This is the city map. The highlighted yellow that you see before you is what is served by the city's water system. The rest, 70%, is Golden State Water. And the reason we show you this is because there's a disparity, a significant disparity between these two systems. Golden State's rates for a typical home bi-monthly bill is $181 versus the city system in this highlighted area is on average $81.52 for a bi-monthly bill. That's every 2 months. So there's a significant disparity between these two systems that are both within the city of Bell Gardens. To give you a history about our water system, it was acquired by Park Water. We purchased it from them back in 1990. We originally had 1,400 customers. We now have 1,600 customers, which means 1,600 connections. They're residential, commercial, industrial. We had 2 water wells. One was shut down because of iron manganese, so it did not operate clean water. So we opened a new well, which is well number 1. So we have 1 water well. We have a connection to Met Water and Central Basin for imported water. And that's when we don't import is when we let the water well system, it happens overnight. So a lot of our production happens in the daytime. We let the motor rest. And we've always contracted our maintenance and operations through private water companies. We've never had in-house water staff. Here's how the water supply works. We pump water from the aquifer, which is in the ground. It goes through the well and gets distributed through, ideally, a storage system for backup and resiliency. And it goes through fire hydrants. It goes through under the street, and it gets distributed to your homes. And so this water is on demand. It is 24/7. It is always working when you need it to work. And that's the function of our water well. We have to have it working. And you have to have it ready for emergency service as well. If there's a fire emergency or anything that happens on the street, you have to have enough pressure to have those hydrants working. And we have to have that ready on emergency basis at any time, all times. Here's a location of our water well within the city. It's located at Florence Place and Perry Road. This is the building that it looks like. It's very secure, and it's on the inside. Here's our pumps and wells that help pump water to every single home within our system. Here is a location of our connections for importing water. When we shut off our well, we turn on the connection to import water, and we have to purchase this water. This water is 3 times the cost of pumping water in the ground. So it's very expensive, and we try not to do that. You notice there's smokestacks out here, and that's to get the air, to get circulation through from underground. Here's an ideal situation. Well, import water, storage, hydrant, goes to every home. That's ideal. That's ideal in how the system should work. But when you don't maintain it properly, when the main breaks, if there's a sinkhole, that's the occurrences we're trying to avoid when you don't maintain the system properly. And we try at all costs to make the system working. Here is a graph of our operations and maintenance over the last 8 years, since 2012. And we have been consistently operating in the negative. This is our revenue in the red. This is our cost. These are our costs. And what's our cost? Cost for maintenance, the cost to run the system, to operate the system, to check the meter, cost of electricity to run the pumps, to run the well, the engine, cost of chemicals to treat, to disinfect. We also have debt on our water right now. There's a bond that we've taken back in 2008. There's a cost to pump. When you pump groundwater around, there's a cost for that. You have to pay a rate per acre feet, cost for repairs. There's main breaks out in the street. We have standby staff, we have emergency staff to take care of that. Liberty Water takes care of that for the city. Imported water, like I mentioned, it's 3 times the cost, and we do import a small fraction of our water. Revenue, the portion of the revenue comes from water sales. It comes from producing that water. And we also lease out our water rights. We don't use all of our water rights. You have to have rights to pump. So Bell Gardens has 1,900 acre feet of pumping rights, and we don't use it all, and so we lease it out. And so that is leased out to the market, and it fluctuates. And we've been lucky to get 2 3-year deals on these leasing rights, but it's not always consistent. Our last leasing rights, we took in a revenue at $90,000 a year for the next 3 years, and so we've got that amount locked in as revenue, but it's not significant. It's just something that we want to be smart with our rights that we don't use, and so we do lease it out, and we do have income from it. Cost of operations acquired back in 1990. Our operation costs have continued to increase, and we have no rate increases since then. Bell Gardens, once again, has never had a rate increase since 1990. And since 2012, we've been running in the red. And to date, that red has accumulated to be $4.1 million that has been loaned by the general fund. So our system is over 60 years old. We haven't had a rate increase in over 30 years. We've got a debt payment on it, about $400,000 a year. Our operation maintenance costs continue to increase year after year. Our revenues versus expenditures are extremely deficient without any rate increases. And other costs continue to grow, electricity, pumping, as well as other assessments for purchasing water. We have some options that we've explored. One is to do nothing and continue to subsidize the water fund by general funds. And there are no funds for capital projects. And like I mentioned, if you don't fix the capital, your mains within the streets, they will be doomed for failure and you have to fix it. We cannot let the system fail. The other option to consider is to sell the system. And I'll go into those options as well on the next slide. The third one is to keep the system and improve its condition and set rates that are manageable. The alternative to sell the system, it can generate a one-time revenue and then allow retirement of outstanding water bonds. It requires the general public to vote on selling the system. So we can't just arbitrarily say, let's go sell it tomorrow. This needs to go out to the ballot for the voters to decide. The buyer will immediately raise the rates. We can guarantee that almost immediately, that whoever obtains the system is going to raise the price of these water rates that haven't been addressed in 30 years. We will lose an asset forever. We will lose the ability to allocate administrative costs and staff time to the water fund. And not only that, the water sale, if we sell it to a private water purveyor, that it requires a CPUC to approve that purchase. And I'll give you an example. I spoke to my colleague in the city of Bellflower that sold their system to another private company, and it's taken 4 years to sell the system. It's still currently in arbitration. So it's not guaranteed. Even if you do sell it, it's not a done deal. There's still a process to complete, and it could take years, and also significant funds in litigation and attorney fees. If we keep the system, we increase the rates moderately over the next 5 years. We take advantage of grants that are available to disadvantaged communities such as Bell Gardens, and we've received grants from the state of California to design reservoir storage, as well as recycled water to bring that type of recycled system to our parks. And so that is in the works as well. And that's in design, that's already in the design. But there's opportunity for the city to go after construction funding once the design is completed. But it's a competitive process, and we continue to chase those grants. There is opportunity to get connected to other water agencies within our region so that we can improve our reliability. We continue to lease unpaid pumping rights like we do right now. We also increase the value of the city asset if we keep the system. We continue to allocate staff time to the water fund to offset any other costs to the general fund. So this will help. It's an enterprise fund. It's supposed to do that. We also maintain control of the water rate adjustment. That is within the city's control. It's within the city council's authority. And so I'm going to take this over to Charlie, who is our water engineer, and he's going to take over the rate adjustment and the water rate study.
Thank you, Chow. Can everybody hear me okay? Am I good? Okay. Thank you, Chow. That was, we want to make sure that the city understands that we've gone through the process of this water rate adjustment through the AWWA guidelines. And the city's water system first rate adjustment is to ensure the system is financially solvent. Okay, that's first and foremost. Improve the system capability by adding a new reservoir, not only a new reservoir, but also a booster pump station and some other amenities that are coming on board. 3, replace aging pipes and meters. This is a capital replacement, improvement and replacement program that we talk about a little bit later on. replace aging fire hydrants. That's all within that same program. And then probably one of the biggest ones is to pay the shortfall loan back to the general fund. You can go on to the next one. What was it? A couple of things to show here. I've kind of given you the answers here, and I know I'm letting the cat out of the bag beforehand, but we wanted to show a few things on this slide. The fact that we have a couple of options that we looked at, but we also have the two components of water rates that we need to talk about. The consumption rate, which is a variable rate, which is only that amount of water that the customer uses and pays for on a per unit basis. The meter rate is a fixed rate that is paid for no matter how much water is being used by the customer. When we analyzed the rates that the city water system has, we found that the amount of revenue that's generated between those two sources of those two components is about a 30% on the meter fixed charge rate and a 70% on the consumption rate, meaning 30% of the revenues generated from the water bills are generated from the fixed rates. And we've looked at this, and we think that a sweet spot for the city of Bell Gardens water system would be about a 50-50 breakdown between the consumption and the meter rate. So you can see that each of those options we have, we're more heavily weighting it to the meter side than the consumption side, and that's by design, like I said, to push that in the direction of hitting more of a 50-50 split in the revenue stream from the meter rates and from the consumption charge. So for option one, you'll notice that we have a very mild increase. That was kind of a starting point for us. We found that wasn't getting where we wanted to be. So there was many other options, but option two is the one we want to identify here as the one that we think is the most likely one we would want to go after. So you can go to the next slide. There's a lot shown on this table. I apologize. It's broken out into several. It's broken out into four components. A cost component at the top. That's the first blue box on the left. Oh, I guess I can do that, can't I? Yeah. Okay. A cost component on the left. The revenues component, which is further down. Oh boy, yours might work a little bit better than mine. Okay. The future shortfall, which is the third one down, and then all the way down at the bottom on the left side is the projected water sales. So what I want to talk about first is the costs that the water system we need to pay for with the water rates. We've broken out the water system expenses, which is basically just the O&M expenses. We wanted to compile those into one. Obviously, there's a lot of different subcomponents to that. But as we did that, we found out that from 2012-13, and the reason we're starting at 2012-13 is because of, like Chow said, this is when it started going into the red. So we wanted to compile all of the shortfall years of the past 8 years and show what this amount of the general fund has been loaned to the water fund. So back up the water system expenses. Then also there's the debt service expenses on the outstanding bonds. So we wanted to make sure we put those in at a separate line item. So then we have the total system expenses, including just those two line items. After the total system expenses, you see, is the CIP. That's the capital improvement program Chow alluded to earlier. And we don't have any items in the past years, obviously, because those are already in the water system expenses row up at the top. But we do want to carry those through because we do have definite programs we need to take care of, we need to move forward with to maintain the system appropriately. And that's where you'll see the 2021 fiscal year 2021, which we call year one, by the way. 2021-22 would be year two, and so on to 24-25 would be year 5. And again, the reasoning we're going with just 5 years in the future for this rate structure increase is because that's all that's allowed by the Prop 218 process. Then as we come down below the CIP expenses, we see there's the annual shortfall, and we alluded to that earlier. That's what has been funded by the general fund to make the water fund whole. And you can see those are the annual shortfalls from fiscal year 12-13 out to 19-20. And those are just the annual expenses. In the red or coral colored row right below it is the accumulated shortfall that we want to focus on here. And you can see that $4.184 million number that we now have as an accumulated shortfall that we need to pay back through the water rates back to the general fund. So what we did was we made the assumption of a payback of 10 years for that. So 10% of each of the next 10 years would be in roughly the time frame that it would take to pay it back within this structured table. So that's where the $418,000 comes in the loan payback row for the future years 1 through 5. And then we come up with the total water system costs at the bottom of that first section, just before we get to the revenue section. That's where we get to the total cost that we need to capture through our new water rates. Okay, now the second one I want to talk about is the revenues. The revenues are basically the water sales. Water sales and some incidental monies that come from the lease of the pumping rights, and also some other revenue sources that we found when we were working with the finance department. So, and we found that those other revenue sources roughly float around the $150,000 mark annually. So that's why we projected that for years 1 through year 5 for the needed revenues for the future. Then we have a total water fund that we would have after applying our projected rates for each year, and we come up with a total water fund of, for example, let's look at fiscal year 2021, which would be year 1. We compare the total water cost of $3.27 million to the revenues that we could generate after the first year rate adjustment, and we still only have $1.4 million. So even after the first year, we're still in the red by $1.8 million. Okay, so as we do that for year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, what we're trying to do, obviously, is turn what I call turning that big ship around in the future shortfall. But as you can see, in the future accumulated shortfall at the bottom, we're on option 1. Yeah, we're on option 1 here. We're only talking about option 1, and that's the less aggressive rate that we had looked at. And I just want to paint a picture here as to why we came up to an option 2 that would be probably more feasible for us. But if we look at the future accumulated shortfall from 2021 on down to 24-25, you can see that we continue to accumulate the shortfall. So I don't think that that's getting us to the point where we need to be at the end of the first 5-year period for this rate adjustment. So if we flip to the next slide, we have the exact same thing with the option 2 figures in place. And so rather than going through all that again, you can see that go right to the future accumulated shortfall with our more aggressive option 2 water rate increase. We can actually start to decrease the future shortfall by fiscal year 23-24, which on this table would be year 4. And so we'd further turn it around in year 5. So that's the direction we want to head. Yeah, this is a somewhat aggressive rate increase, but I think this is what we need to do in order to reduce that, to start reducing that shortfall deficit. So as you can see, we're in the option 2 scenario. We are reducing our $4.18 million current shortfall to $3.28 million shortfall. So that puts us in the right direction. I think that would be more in line with what we ought to move forward with. And also what I want to remind everyone of is that we are also taking this in a direction of trying to get those revenues to balance between the consumption and the fixed meter charge to a roughly 50-50 split. This doesn't quite get us to a 50-50 split, but I think at the next 5-year rate increase, that would be the goal after we're done with this rate increase. Rate adjustment, I should say. Next slide, yeah. Okay, so what does this look like? Chow alluded to this on an earlier slide. Here's our current average residential monthly bills based on a residential customer using 30 units of water in 2 months. And you can see on the far left, our green column is what the city water system rate is currently. And you can see that nothing else really is even close to that, with the exception of Downey and Bellflower Somerset. But then Downey is actually an older, it's a 4 or 5 year old rate that we couldn't get any newer rates for. So in actuality, you're comparing Downey's rates of 4 or 5 years ago to our current rate, and it's still over ours. So this is kind of a very telling graph to show you that we really need to do some rate adjustments to get back on track with what the industry standard has for water rates nowadays. And going on to the next slide, this is what the option 2 water rate structure would mean for each of the future years. So we would increase from current to year 1 to $113, approximately $114 for a 2-month bill. And that's approximately a 40% increase. But we taper that increase down for the later years on down to about a 14% increase after year 5. And again, these rates, we want to emphasize that these rates are essential for maintaining a reliable system, maintain a healthy system that will continue to provide high quality water for the consumers, and maintain minimum acceptable fire flow requirements for emergency fire flow.
Chow, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Chow, can you? I just want to make a note here, I guess, for James, is that as I'm kind of comparing the Bell Gardens water system to Bell Gardens residents that are serviced by Golden State Water, I'm just noticing that if their current rates with Golden State Water were in $180 every 2 months, that, you know, $181 every 2 months, if you go for this option 2, I think it takes about 4 years for us to even get to what Golden State Water is probably going to be at in another year or so. Just as a comparison, as you're
That's correct.
Going to catch
That's
up. So
correct.
I just want to make that point, James. Thanks.
Yes, good point. Yeah, so okay, so we're done with there we go. Okay, the rate increase process. Okay, basically what we're up against now is City Council to authorize the process to proceed. The city conducts public outreach for the Bell Gardens water system users. Again, this is only the Bell Gardens water system users, not the Golden State water users up to the south. Then number 3, written notice is given to all property owners, water users within the limits of the city where the city water system is used of proposed rates for the next 5 years. Number 4, notices must be sent out 30 days prior to a public hearing. And then the public hearing is held by the city council. And then it's important to note that if more than 40% of the property owners, if more than 50% of the property owners in the area of the city water system do not object, In other words, if less than 50% do object, the city council can increase the rates up to the limit of the amount listed within the written notice. So with that, I'll hand it back to Chow for the closing staff recommendation.
So this is for discussion. We'd like to get direction from the council regarding the water rate study. And, you know, you've heard our recommendation. Our recommendation is to go with option 2 so that we can catch up with the prevailing rates of the region, first of all. Secondly, reduce the disparity between our system and then the system that 7% of the city is paying. Pay back the general fund that we owe $4.1 million on. And so that is our recommendation, but we'd like to get direction from the council to bring back the report with whatever rate you recommend so that we can proceed with Prop 218 process for the water rate adoption. And that concludes our report, and we're open to questions at this time.
We'll open it up to my colleagues for any. Councilwoman Cortez.
Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. No questions, but I would like to thank our team for preparing this presentation. I think it's been a conversation that has been in the works and it's long overdue, as we can see by the extreme deficit that this is costing to our general fund. It's not an easy conversation, especially not in the midst of this pandemic. I understand that 100%. So I do want to acknowledge that we are cognizant of the situation of our community. But it's something that we do need to address in order to maintain or uphold that fiduciary responsibility that we have been entrusted with, and that is making sound decisions for the city. This hasn't been touched in 30 years. I personally believe that that was a big mistake. This should have been addressed early. And coming in, when we sat down with our finance department initially, this was one of the main areas of concern for our finance director at the time. With regards to, you know, a lack of revenue sources and deficits created by this by this well. I think that it is an asset that we need to maintain for the city of Bell Gardens. I don't believe in selling our city's assets, but instead finding a way to remedy the situation if possible. Most of our city is already at a certain rate. We wouldn't even get to the same rate as Golden State Water, which most of our residents are under. So that's just something in consideration. It's a little disproportionate that some residents are paying one rate and some are not. So that's just something to bring forward. It's not an easy conversation. But we need to address it. So I just want to contribute that I do not think that we should sell. I do think that we should maintain this asset, which is our water well. It gives us control, along with also monitoring, you know, current contaminants that are in our water. If we sell these assets, then we have less control over that as well. So that's just my comment, but thank you so much, Director, for your presentation.
Thank you. Do I have any other comments from the council or questions? Okay, I would like to make a comment here. You know, this thing just pops out at me in a way that it's an emergency here in the city that unfortunately for whatever reason it wasn't addressed before our time. We are now at $4.1 million in a deficit to this system since 1990. So for 20 years and 30 years even. So something about it now. I think that we're failing our community, and I think it is clear from the presentation, just looking at the two options, one option being selling it and getting rid of it, and another is solving the problem. If we sell it, in my opinion, what we're doing is just not fixing the problem and getting rid of it. but what that means is that our community may end up paying more for water quicker. So they crank up the rates of that water, and then what are we gonna do? How are we gonna explain that to our? The other way, we get to ease into the solution. We have a plan that our staff that we trust can work with us on. And by doing that, I think it's the more responsible action to take. And it also happens to be the recommendation, if I'm not wrong, of our staff. So I would like to make a motion now to authorize staff to bring back the report rate adjustment for the purpose of proceeding with Prop 218 process of water rate adoption. And City Manager, do I need to specify further, or is that enough for the motion?
I think Mayor Barcena, that's enough direction at this time.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second for that? Oh,
Would you like staff to bring back option 2?
yes, option 2.
Then we will.
I would like to second that option. This is not an easy decision, but it is a courageous decision. And although these are probable things that are going to be used as in campaigns, let me foreshadow that this is the right thing to do for our community and upholding our fiduciary responsibility.
Thank you, Councilwoman Cortez. Well said. So with that second, I will go ahead and do a vote. Chavez?
Yes.
I lost my cheat sheet. Cortez?
Yes.
Flores?
Yes.
Yes.
And that's a yes for myself. So motion carries. And moving on now to item number 17. City Manager, please announce discussion item 17.
Thanks again, Mayor Barcena. This item is actually a third item related to water, more on the fun aspects of the use of H2O. So recommending that the council approve the agreement and a budget resolution for RJM Design, Architecture, and Engineering Services for the Aquatic Center. This is the result of meetings of the Aquatic Center Ad Hoc Committee over the last 18 months. The creation of a significant amount of effort from the council members that have participated in that committee, the residents that have participated in workshops, and the staff that has worked on this process. So I'd be happy to turn it to Director Adanto. She's got a presentation, and I will ask the director as timely as possible, just in the interest of time, and then at the pleasure of the council, we can be as efficient as you'd like. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, City Manager, Mayor, City Council. As the City Manager mentioned, there was quite a bit of study that's been happening on this project. I have a brief PowerPoint presentation where it outlines all of the elements that has been studied, which is the 50-meter pool, the diving area, the therapeutic pool. And so we'll just go ahead and start with the PowerPoint, and that'll kind of tell its story, and then we'll get into what we're approving today. So this is a first slide. Let's go to the second slide. So this is a rendering that was prepared by RJM Design Group. This is the front of the building, or what could look like the front of the building. Nothing's been finalized just yet. The next slide. This is a bird's eye view of the 50-meter swimming pool and what it would look like from the deck. The next slide. This is again a bird's eye view of the activity pool or slash therapy pool. So this could double up as for water aerobics, or it could be for swim lessons, but it would be both a therapy pool and an activity pool. Next slide. And here's a better rendition of the therapy pool, which again would have a lift. You see seniors who are doing water aerobics. And so it would be more of a quieter area where these type of classes could be held. Next slide. We think that having some nighttime activities for seniors or for adults would lend itself to some nighttime activity. The next slide. And here's an overview of the activity pool. You see this, you see the slide, you see a bird's eye view, and it gives you a kind of a bird's eye view of the whole rendition. Next slide. This design would require us to relocate our playground equipment, but we would make room for that. Next slide. This slide would also provide for terrace seating, and it would allow for parents to be engaged while they're watching their children participate in either swim lessons or recreational swim, but it's geared towards family. Next slide. So here's, again, a total view of the top of it. And then we have like a 3D version. So we'll get into the video of this. Next slide, or the video. There you go. Okay, so that is the rendition that was prepared by RJM. We had 18 firms propose on the project. Of the 18, we interviewed 8, and then we narrowed it down to 2. And the cost, which is approximately $1,037,625. When we originally looked at the cost, there was phase 1 is approximately $150,000, and phase 2 is about $850,000, and that's how we got to the $1,037,625. which is approximately $114,000 less than what we had budgeted. A couple of the selling points with RJM also is that they would provide us with a website so that residents could view the construction phase throughout the entire project. And residents could see the pool being built in real time. The other is that they are proposing to support 2 part-time intern positions for a student, a college student who is either a architect's major or an engineering major. So we'll have a Bell Gardens two Bell Gardens residents who will actually be part of the whole design and engineering process throughout the whole project. We have funding for the project through CDBG in the amount of $1,152,523, which gives us an excess of $114,000 for the entire project. And I'm confident that RJM can do a good job. It's the project through the ad hoc committee was a unanimous decision to select them. And I welcome any comments by the mayor or council member Cortez, who participated in the project or in the hiring process. But I feel confident that moving forward with this firm is going to get us a first-class aquatic center project here in the near future. So if you have any questions, I'd be welcome to answer them.
I will go ahead and just speak very briefly on this particular item. We really putting a lot of work the moment that we got on council in regards to this project. We felt that we really needed an aquatic center in which they could learn because swimming is a life skill. But not only that, we wanted to make sure that we maintained the area of the current pool, which is a 50-meter pool, that will allow for swimming competitive level, as well as education that is unmatched in the area. So I'm confident that with this project and the way that we worked with the Director of Recreation and Community Services, that those things are coming our way, especially now that we have secured a grant for about $6 million. We feel that this is the right move for the students. And we did go through about 18 applications, and we interviewed several firms, and we even brought some of them back just to make sure that we looked at it from every angle, that we considered every last one of the details involved in this decision. Just this huge investment that we're planning on doing with our community is the right. Confident to say now, as mentioned by Rosanna Danto, it was a unanimous the ad hoc committee, which is composed of myself, Cortez, the city manager, O'Kelly, Rosanna Danto, and also our works director, Chao Wu, as well as some of our recreation staff that was also involved in the process and providing their support, and a consultant that was able to provide their expertise in this field of many, many years. So we're feeling very confident about this as an ad hoc committee, and I would like to show my support and allow my colleagues to comment or ask questions, and then we'll move on to a motion. So anyone?
Mayor, before they ask questions, may I also contribute as being part of this ad hoc? I do want to say that this item has been in the making for the past 2 years that we've been in council. We've had so many barriers that we've had to surpass to get here today, but I do want to thank our city manager for, allowing us to have this vision and also helping us pave the way, along with our director, Rosanna Danto, that really, we brought this forward to them and they're like, yes, of course we can do it. And we're going to get right on it. So I am elated. I am very joyful for this item. I know that, we're still in the middle of a pandemic, but it is very exciting that we're moving forward in this vision for our community. And it's a long-term vision. So I do want to say that, in this council, we have visionaries that are projecting for the future, that are trying to offer a very important and vital resource for kids, children, youth of all ages in our city, right? This pool and the design, what we seek to have is competitive swimming, but before that, we understand that we need to teach some little ones to swim, some other older adult children to swim, because many don't know how to do that. And we also need to provide a space for moms and for parents to sit and watch their kids. We need to provide, maybe add an asset of a stage so we can have a little bit more art. We need to provide for our senior citizens, which are a very, very important part of our community. So there's a lot of thought going into this. I want to assure my colleagues that in the interviews that we held 3 days of interviews. The first round was 2 days, and then the second round with the final people, because we wanted to make sure that we were bringing the right firm for Bell Gardens. One that was going to get the job done, and one that was also going to get it done on our timeline. We're trying to speed this up as much as we can for our community. We've promised for a really long time, and here we are delivering, but we need to deliver fast, but also make it right. So I'm so excited. We're also very thankful for the grant that we have received. And just, this is an asset for Bell Gardens. The same way past councils have had the vision to create the Ford Park Sports Complex, to update Los Jardines. This is going to be our landmark, to update our pool complex so that we can leave something for future generations. Just with that, I am completely elated to bring this forward. I want to assure my colleagues that we hired the best, or that we have selected the best firm, and hopefully you can support us in approving this tonight so that we can move forward and give our community a bit of hope leaving this pandemic, that there's a great project in your sight. Thank you.
Mayor Barcena, if I may.
Cortez. Please go ahead, Councilmember.
Thank you for that. This is amazing. I'm glad that this is coming forward to our community. I think RJM Design has done a phenomenal job in terms of really going above and beyond and providing, 2 staff positions for the development of the either architecture or engineer for 2 college students, right? So I think that's very key that they were able to bring that to the table, and shows that they're willing to commit to our, not only to the pool and to, getting this, having the opportunities to the residents, but also the youth, which is really impactful. Going off my a couple months ago when I was knocking on those doors, this is something that was really important for a lot of residents, right? The pool. And I'm glad that now that I am in city council, I'm going to be a deciding factor in making this and pushing forward with this. Because this is something that's, how many children missed the opportunity to learn swimming during these last summers? Something that, they'll probably want to get to experience during their childhood. But moving forward with this, I'm glad that this is being brought, and I really look forward to seeing this. I don't know if it's if a motion, if the opportunity to make the motion would be available, but with that said, a motion to approve the agreement and budget resolutions for RJM Design Group for design, architecture, engineering services for the aquatic center at the John Anson Ford Park.
I'd like to make a few comments.
Please go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, first and foremost, I just want to say that I share the happiness with the rest of my colleagues. As you guys know, Marco, Alejandra, and myself ran on a slate together, and together we did promise that we were going to bring a pool to our residents. And I'm happy that although we all have our, legislative or policy differences, we do have a fundamental agreement in wanting to bring this to our community. As a mother, I understand that it's really important to have investments in our city for our children, right? To learn basic life skills like swimming, but also to be competitive, right? We have a gold medalist that came out of the City of Commerce, where she practiced here at our high school and attended our high school, and also practiced in the City of Commerce. So we can also have a gold medalist. They just needed those resources. So I'm really, really happy to be able to deliver on this campaign promise. But most importantly, I'm happy to be able to give our community something that they have waited for a long time. And I'm thankful for everyone who came in and participated in taking consideration and parts in designing this pool. I know that at the very beginning, we did ask for residents' opinions, which helped us in our grant. So thank you so much to all the residents that came out and gave their input. Thank you to our grant company who's gone above and beyond to help this. And Roseanne, you've been instrumental. I think you're right on time to get this ball rolling. I literally remember like the day you showed up, Marco and I were meeting with the pool ad hoc committee, and you showed up, and I was like, whoa, like you got here right on time. And I think that the stars have just aligned for our community once and for all. So I'm really, really happy. I think this is one of the best things that this council has been able to do for the community. So with everyone that's partaking here, everyone, I'm so, so grateful. And I can't wait to be there for the ribbon cutting and maybe have a ceremony, maybe some fireworks, although they're not legal here in the city. Something for our residents to finally announce that we will be having a pool. So thank you to everyone. I'm so, so excited. I hope all the residents are just happy to see what's coming.
Thank you. First, I really appreciate your enthusiasm, and rest assured that even though you're not in the committee right now, the ideas that you did introduce at one point, they still resonate within the project.
I'm
So
so
I
happy to hear
think
that. Thank you,
I
Marco.
think we are all really part of this, including Jorge and Mayor Pro Tem Maria Pulido, who is also here and hopefully will be supporting this. But let me just say, because this is a very emotional sort of project for me, because this is the reason that I decided to run for council, because I spent my entire life working in aquatics. You know, I basically grew up in the water, and I was a lifeguard and became a pool manager, like sort of the aquatics director type of person, and I hired a bunch of lifeguards every summer. Council member Jorge Chavez mentioned that a lot of kids were missing out on being able to have aquatics as part of their recreation, and he's correct, because we used to serve approximately 380 kids each day per average, you know, and to all of a sudden have to shut down a pool like that and turn all these kids away, that is really what moved me to want to run for council, because I knew that we could make a difference. And I really appreciate that we all understand that sentiment and that we're here to do what's right for our community. So I will the motion made by my.
Actually, Mayor, may I?
Yes, please go ahead.
Councilmember Chavez, I do want to petition you. This is not important whatsoever, so feel free to decline. Seeing that this is such an important project to Mayor Bárcena, would you mind if he makes the first motion, just because he's been working on this project very arduously, and you're free to second?
Mayor Bárcena, is that a request?
I would appreciate the gesture. I mean, it's a minor detail, but I think I will be.
Very well, then I'd rescind my motion, and moving forward, pushing your motion, I wouldn't mind seconding it.
Thank you, please. So let me go ahead and do the motion to approve staff's recommendation that, one second, I want to read it exactly how it is here. Staff recommendation that the City Council approve the agreement and budget resolution for RJM Design Group for design, architecture, and engineering services for the Aquatics Center at John Anson Ford Park.
Second.
Okay, and then we have a second by Council Member Jorge Chavez. I will go ahead and take that to a vote. Mr. Chavez?
Yes.
Yes.
A delightful yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Flores?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you. And Mayor Pro Tem Pulido?
Yes.
Thank you. And that's yes for myself. So the motion carries. Thank you. And we have one more item. It's also a good one. So we're going to end on a very good note here.
But as a side note, Roseanne, tell them go. Go.
I did that last week.
Thank you all for working on this. Okay, number 18, City Manager, will you please announce discussion item number 18?
Thanks again, Mayor Bárcena. This item is one that we've had on the shelf for a few months here. We're waiting for the dust settle on the election. It's regarding City Council term limits, discussion, further direction. I just want to make sure the council knows this is not a rush item. In the interest of cost particularly, it would probably make most sense if the council was interested in term limits to shoot for a November 2022 election cycle to get the biggest bang for the cheapest cost. But for the discussion, there's an exhibit that describes some of the term limits that exist currently among cities locally, regionally that have term limits, what they look like, and then those cities that do not have term limits, such as Bell Gardens. So with that, I'd be happy to turn it over to our city clerk to fill in some of the blanks there and then let the council have their discussion. Thank you.
City Manager. Some of the items that you may be interested in, a term limit is a legal restriction that limits the number of terms an office holder may serve in a particular elected office. Most California cities with term limits set either a 2 or 3-term limit. There are cities that establish lifetime term limits. A council member is permanently termed out after the limit is reached. Some cities have referred to a cooling off period, which this would be an individual must wait a certain amount of time before running for city council again after they've reached their term limit. Term limits will only apply to council terms that start at the same time that the measure is approved or in the future. So it makes sense that the November 2022 election, if you decide to go through with term limits, that's on the ballot, because those council members, then going forward, it will affect them and any future council members. An estimate for the November 2nd, 2021 will be forthcoming this week. I was hoping to get it today, but I didn't get it. That election will be a special election. And so it just makes more sense for the November 2022, because that'll be the election scheduled for the city of Bell Gardens. That kind of completes the report. I'm available if you have any questions.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And at this point, I'd like to open it up for my colleagues. If they have any questions, comments in regards to this item, please go ahead.
Just my comment, I want to agree with our city manager and our city clerk that perhaps we should, I do definitely want to go ahead and proceed with term limits, but perhaps waiting for our general election next time up, just in the interest of saving some money, as a special election is a bit costly. So if my colleagues agree, I would like to go ahead and move for that. That's my comment.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I had a question. In order for us to place the term limits, are we already deciding the term limits, the amount of time, or is that going to be when the residents vote, or do we get to suggest on what they're going to vote on? Can I make a suggestion on what the term limit should be?
So the discussion that we're hoping to and direction we receive from council would be reviewing the exhibit that shows the term limits, and then seeing if there's consensus to provide direction so that we could come back with the appropriate documentation that would specifically describe how many terms, are there cooling off periods, are there lifetime bans, and then at what time would that take place, which we're recommending the November 22 election. But we can do all that work now to have everything set in place. It just really requires the council to have the discussion, give that direct direction. Thank you.
Okay. So, okay, sounds good.
Anyone else have any comments or questions?
I'd like to make a point. So, Mayor Barcena, if I may.
Please go ahead. Thank you.
So, I think term limits is very important. I think that there's a reason why we have these boundaries set in place, right? These terms, these certain amount of years you can serve in a position like this. What I'm trying to say is I really want to advocate on this. I really feel that we need to approach this very very seriously. As we all know, although like I don't know how to say it, like I'm young, and I don't feel that this should be my career, right? I shouldn't be here having the opportunity to serve for the next 20-30 years. I think that moving forward, I think that we should definitely have term limits. I echo Councilmember Cortez's voice on opinion on this, that this is something that needs to be done. Now, in terms of the years and how long, whether it's, because I'm looking at surrounding cities, we have Cerritos, Cudahy, Garden Grove, Gardena, Lynwood, Monterey Park, and Vernon, who have 2 years. I think Gardena has 3 years, and then we have Commerce that also has 3 years. Three years as in 3 consecutive 4-year terms. So they're all 4-year terms. And I'm just looking at it, and it just seems like, okay, how many years are we looking at? So if we're gonna break it down, are we gonna propose term limits for 8 years, or are we gonna propose term limits for the full 12 years? That's something where I've been trying to wrap my head around. I think that we should all really evaluate ourselves being in these positions as well, because this is something that's going to affect all of us, right? But yes, I kind of want to leave it as that, and then just kind of hear what the rest of the council thinks about that.
I'd like to provide a little bit of my outlook on this, and hopefully you guys, it can help just with a different perspective on it. I'm looking at the Commerce terms where it's 3 consecutive 4-year terms and a lifetime limit. And the reason why I'm looking at 3 terms is because I've been in council only 2 years, but it feels like it's been such a short and it's just a very fast experience. Now, when I see myself at the end of 4 years, I think the expectation is that I already know what I'm doing after. Therefore, I feel if there's a second term, I can really focus on stretching that experience as much as possible. And the third term would come into play when I'm working either young applicants that I want to be council members or the community in leaving someone behind and focusing that entire term on that only, or mostly. You can't really focus on that only. And that's sort of the way that I see it. I see it in 3 segments. So it's like you learn and you get to know how the council position works. You use your experience to and do some real work, and then you leave a legacy, or you share your experience with the future of your city, right? With the younger generation. So I would like to make a motion, as Councilwoman Cortez mentioned, and this is going to be just a little bit of an extension to that. I definitely don't think we should spend extra money on having a special election. So let's just go with the regular schedule election, but let's pursue the 3 consecutive terms with a lifetime limit. Any cool off periods, we just, as soon as we do 3 terms, time's up, and you got to let the next one go, right? So I'd like to propose that. I'm making that motion. Does anyone want to second that?
Before we continue, are we going to talk about, like, for instance, like scenarios, like if they're going to do 3 terms with a life ban, like, are they going to serve for 4 years, take a break, serve another 4 years, take a break, serve another 4 years, take a break? Are we going to put a lifetime ban after the immediate 4 years if they don't proceed to 12? I think that we have to look at those metrics as well.
If I'm wrong, city manager and city clerk, but I think the 3 consecutive means that if you are there for 12 years in a row, then time's up. But if you are there for 4 years and then you leave, you still can come back and do the other 8 years at any time. I think, is that correct?
I think it can be interpreted in a number of ways, and I'll turn it over to the clerk to see if she knows in that specific example with Commerce. But I think because we have time with some of this direction, I think there are finer points as you look at some of these examples that we would bring back and say, okay, if the council right now is giving direction for 3 consecutive 4-year terms, we can come back with, here's some clarifying points that you may need to make decisions on as well. Particularly in this instance, if somebody leaves after the 4-year term. Do you know, Jane, off the top of your head with Commerce, how they deal with that if somebody leaves 1 term into it?
I don't, but we did get.
Can we perhaps bring this back in a presentation, maybe some tables, some models, with respect to the specifications of the terms and the caveats as to if you skip a term, you don't skip a term, a judge removed you, didn't remove you, etc. That way we can work all those logistics into this.
Sure.
I think it's helpful too, Mayor Barcena, with the direction. If we know if there's direction that a starting point is 3 consecutive 4-year terms, it helps us get probably 85% of where we need to be to bring back some of the next level options.
Yeah, I have to say that in talking to our neighboring colleagues, I did ask what the recommendation was as far as term. And within 8 cities, they came to a solid conclusion that 3 terms was the most beneficial towards residents. So I will have to echo that. I agree with Mr. Barcena's motion to make it a 3-year term with a lifetime ban.
Okay, is that a second?
Yes, I'll
Yes?
second that.
Okay, thank you. So then we have a motion to bring back the 3 consecutive 4-year terms with different specifications, just to make sure that we can regroup and figure out exact direction is, but we're focusing on that. And I will go ahead and have a vote on that.
Mayor Barsano?
Please go ahead.
Just a point of clarification, maybe Mike or Jane can clarify this. By when would we probably have the presentation? Would it be in the next council meeting or?
I would ask before even asking our city clerk if you could give us the second meeting in February. So not next meeting, but the one after, just due to the timing of issues with the agenda, if that would please the council.
Thank you.
In my opinion, it's okay due to the fact that we are not going to have a special election and we do have ample time. So unless anyone feels any different, I'm okay with that particular timeline.
For Mayor, I mean, even as council, I would be comfortable with giving you the leeway to plan with city manager and city clerk, depending on the items on our agenda. As we noticed tonight, it was a very, very hefty agenda. This is not an item that's pressing, so I much rather utilize our staff for things that are pressing, and then whenever you see fit to add this item, given that we have some time, and strategize as opposed to adding a specific deadline. Did you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? I think it's logging me off.
Okay, let me log back on.
Okay.
This is ya verle, ya. So what
Okay, we are back. We're having some connectivity issues.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so where did I leave off?
Okay,
What was
so
the last thing you heard?
we're gonna provide some flexibility to our staff, and I think rightly so, because we have a pretty busy meetings coming up. But believe me, this is something that is in my interest and my radar, so I will make sure that we continue to make progress on it. But yes, we're gonna be focusing on the 3 consecutive 4-year terms. It's very late. Did I already conduct a vote? Was there a? No? Okay, I'm gonna do the vote over. Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Cortez?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Flores?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Pulido.
Yes.
Thank you, and that's a yes for myself. Motion carries. We're moving on to public participation on non-agenda items. Participation is now open. City Clerk, are there any speakers?
Yes, Mayor, we have two public, well, we have one public speaker that's in the system right now. So, Mr. John Martinez, you would like to speak?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
So, let me give you the instructions, just so you know. You're before the council, mayor and council. You have 3 minutes to speak on non-agenda items. So I'll go ahead and start timing you, and you can start now.
Okay, thank you. Hello, my name is John Martinez. First of all, I would like to thank the council for allowing me to speak today. So I just wanted to inform you guys about a current and urge you guys to participate in the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities program offered by SCAG, the Southern California Association of Government. And what this program is that they have invested $1.1 billion in sustainable projects across the state that amounts to roughly about 10 million $577,000 per project. So these funds can be used for like a wide variety of things, such as affordable housing developments, housing related infrastructure, sustainable transportation infrastructure, transportation related amenities, programs such as subsidized transit passes. And as you can see, a lot of the purposes of this program is to provide transit oriented development, which is important with our rising sea levels and the just a lot of the big issues that we have had with our environmental impacts. So this is mainly to help reduce GHG emissions here in the city, and how it works. It also works towards helping bring in infrastructure to the city, and as our water supply is a big issue here in Bell Gardens. That would also help fund the water pump here in the city of Bell Gardens. So I would like to just let you guys know about that today. And the application is due February 2021 of this year, but there are multiple rounds. So yeah, I would like to maybe hold a presentation for you guys in the future. I was talking with Council Member Chavez and about this, so I'd like to thank him for hearing me out. And yeah, that'll be it for today, and I'll hopefully let Council Member Chavez know a little more about these programs. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Martinez. You have email. I'll go ahead and read the email if you'd like. Hello, Mr. Marco Barcena. Pardon me. Hello, Mayor Marco Barcena. I hope this email finds you, the City Council, and city staff well during these unprecedented times. I am writing in response to allegations that I do not reside in the city of Bell Gardens. I would like to extend the opportunity to Councilmember Lisette Flores to call my landlord for verification. I will send a separate email to Mayor Barcena and city staff. The phone contact for my landlord, and will also include documentation with my address to rectify any doubts of my residency in the city of Bell Gardens. Thank you for your time. All my best. Andrew Leon. And that concludes public comments.
Thank you. If there's no objection by the City Council, I will close public participation. And now we'll move on to City Council member comments. We'll start with Council Member Chavez.
Thank you so much, Mayor Barcena. It's been a long meeting. We've been here for about 3.5 hours. And I love it. I think we should have, I wish every meeting was almost this long in terms of substance that we're tackling. This is important. That's why we were put here to do. Again, you know, I look forward to the next council meetings, and to keep it brief. I wrote a note here. I want to thank staff for the food drive we did have on MLK Day, I think about 2 weeks ago, last week. And, you know, we had a good amount of folks show up, and I saw those big, huge turkey legs we were giving, like it's like the size of my head almost, you know. So I saw those. A lot of people who were saying they were like the Disney turkey legs. They were huge. And then, you know, it was pretty good. And just want to give a quick shout out on that. Finally, hope everyone's staying safe. You know, we do got some good news coming up in regards to our city. And I think I did see something about dining opening soon or something. It's just it's a little bit difficult because we're getting like mixed signals. One day we see something being posted like every 5 minutes someone is passing, you know, so you know, someone's you know, passing due to COVID, or someone's getting infected by COVID. And then on the other hand, we have like things opening again. It's just like so many things are happening day by day. And I think maybe my council member colleagues might touch on it a little bit. But anyways, I just want to close it with that. Again, thank you so much. Long meeting, but I'm glad we were able to make it this far. Looking forward to the next one. Thank you.
Thank Council Member Chavez. Can you guys hear me? I'm not able to mute myself anymore, but I'll just write it like this for the next few comments. Now we're going to listen to Councilwoman Cortez comments.
Yes, I just want to wish everybody a good
Night.
night. You're gonna have to mute.
I tried and it doesn't mute.
Yeah.
It doesn't work?
I'll try to go with you.
Same here.
I'll just use your mic. I just want to wish everybody a good night. Thank you so much, staff, for all the work that was provided today, especially to our council colleagues who got here from work and have been here for 5 hours. This was a very long meeting, but we did accomplish a lot. I do want to caution our community with regards to the reopening. We are moving. It seems a little scary. We're moving fast. We're reopening several sectors this week. One of those being our card rooms, which is excellent for our budget and for our community. However, you want everyone to be as prudent as you can and as careful as you can so that we can contain the number of cases. Please wear your masks. Even, with our card rooms, one of the things that provides the safety is the fact that everybody wears a mask while they're at our card rooms, and there's a lot of different measures and barriers for the most regulated industry. So that brings me confidence that we're in the right direction. But I just want to remind everyone, continue to wear your mask, wash your hands. And lastly, I do want to direct staff. I do want to send out a letter to our governor as well as LA County. In reopening a lot of these sectors, we need to be cognizant that Southeast Los Angeles is very different than the rest of California. In observing the tiers today, I was a little bit disappointed because we continue to neglect our medically vulnerable, which the Southeast is comprised of a lot. We fit the diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, obesity, you name it. So I do want to advocate for this community with regards to vaccines, as we did in the beginning with vaccines. And also, importantly, we need a vaccine possible to the Southeast. And that includes Maywood Bell, Cudahy, Huntington Park, Linwood, a lot of our community. So I do want to advocate for that, just bring a little bit of attention again to the Southeast, that there is a disproportionate impact because we do have essential workers. We do have families that have congregated living, multi-generation households that are increasing the COVID cases. A lot of us that are young, quote unquote, go out to work, but then we go home to parents who have been quarantined. There's no way to isolate because our houses are small. We have single restrooms sometimes. So those are just some of the disparities that we have in the Southeast LA. So I do want to send a letter, and hopefully the mayor can join us in co-signing that letter so that we can send it out to the county and most importantly, our governor to bring just a little bit of attention to our community. But with that, thank you so much everyone for joining us tonight. Have a great night.
Thank you, Councilwoman Cortez. And now moving on to Councilwoman Flores.
Yes, I just want to, before I continue, I want to thank staff for hanging in with us. Our staff is also an essential, they're also essential workers, and a lot of them have been victims of COVID themselves. And I want to thank each and every one of you because your lives are at risk and so are your families. And you do it not just because it's your job, but because I know that you're passionate about helping our community, and I see it in many of you every day. And I can't express how grateful I am for that because you guys are out there and you continue to do it. And just like the drive up this time, we couldn't even accept volunteers, and you guys are still there. So thank you so much. With that said, I want to inform the community that there's a pop-up COVID-19 walk-up site in the City of Commerce at their Veterans Park. It's one of the few that are actually walk-up, so I recommend that you take advantage of the resources the county is sending over to our region. And while the number of hospitalizations have declined, we still have many deaths. We have many mortuary homes that are completely full at its capacity, and they're hurting. Right now, and if your loved one passes away, there's a lot of red tape just to bury them, and it's very difficult. And just like Jorge said, it's difficult because we're getting mixed signals, right? That the COVID is still on the surge, but then things are opening up. So it's really just up to us to determine what's essential and what's necessary and what's not. I do want to express my sympathy for a lot of people who are experiencing mental health crisis in our community. Our community has been very, very affected by this. Students are still not at school. A lot of parents are facing home displacement. They don't have food security. Sometimes we face food deserts. And it's really important, that we are there for them. And I want you to know that I see you. I'm here with you. I understand. And it's difficult. So I get a little emotional because, people that we know or might not know are committing or thinking of committing suicide. And it's really, really bad. And it's emotionally taking us. Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. So anywho, I just want to urge everybody to please be careful and know that we are all hurting. And for everybody who has lost a loved one or is hurting, I'm so sorry. My sympathy goes out to you. And we're here for you to support you in any way possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Flores, for those comments. Pro Tem Toledo, your comments?
Yes, I would like to thank our staff, our department heads, our city manager for working so hard to make sure that our city continues forward. We rely on your expertise and understanding of your own departments, and thank you. So, like I mentioned before, as council members, we will always become familiar in each department, and we do rely on your expertise to guide us and inform us and help us make decisions. One of my big priorities is making sure that everyone is treated with respect and feels comfortable when coming to work in the workplace. So please let us know if something ever changes. We want to make sure that you feel and yes, there's a lot of new information coming in regarding COVID-19. Although new businesses will be opening up soon, continue to be careful, washing your hands, wearing your mask. COVID is not going to go away anytime soon, so let's just continue to be safe. Like I mentioned in the last meeting, I did receive then the first dose of the COVID vaccine. I did receive the second dose this last Saturday. And again, my only side effect, but I do know a couple of people that did get a bit of a cough, but it went away within 2 days as projected. So when the vaccine is made available to you, please do your research now so that when the time comes, you do make an educated decision. And I would recommend that you accept the vaccine and help stop the spread of COVID-19. And also, I understand that there's a state legislature that is to the Brown Act with AB 992, which relates to social media. And I would like a report to be provided to council to make sure that we do not violate any of the changes. With that, thank you so much for joining us and sticking along until about 10 p.m. today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for the comments. I want to thank staff for helping us get this meeting, this very robust meeting together, and for allowing us to serve the community of Gardens. I look forward to getting back on our for the next few months as the vaccinations come in, as we get the casino back on its legs, and as we figure out what we're going to do with our water study and all of those really, really important things, not to mention the pool that's coming our way, thanks to the support of the council and our staff and this entire city of the team. Everyone, please take care of yourselves, take care of your family. Don't forget to let your family know, your friends know that you love them and appreciate them. And that's how we'll end the meeting. Thank you. Have a good night.